cyborg from the future arrives in 20th century Los Angeles to kill the woman who will give birth to mankind's post-apocalyptic savior. Welcome to another feature presentation of Midnight Double Feature, and on tonight's episode we're going to be doing The Terminator, written and directed by James Cameron from 1984. Hey, how you guys doing? Welcome back to another feature presentation of Midnight Double Feature. I am one of your hosts, Collin. Along with me, we have Matt and Danny tonight. How are you guys doing?
Doing pretty good. Yeah. This is
I don't know what you said because both of you talked at the exact same time. So
I had a generic American response.
Well, it's going to be a mystery.
Generic Aussie response.
It's going to be a mystery. We'll never know.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but is this the very first episode of Midnight Double Feature that is without Zoheb? That isn't an upcoming attractions episode?
I think so. I don't think Zoheb is really. He's been on pretty much every single feature presentation, and we unfortunately we got some numbers back. We had to get rid of them. It was just bad. It didn't have anything to do with the podcasting though. Most of our listeners come from America, and he was brown, and we just had to get rid of him. It's didn't like no, just kidding.
They voted.
Wow.
Yeah, he was voted off like Survivor.
That's it. Now that he's not here, we can talk as much shit as we want about him. We get all our secretly hot takes about it.
We can stop pretending to like Sicario just whenever he's around.
I kind of had a joke in my head. I was like, what if Danny and Matt what are twin powers activate? And they turn into Zoheb, and that's why we're never all in the same room together.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That is exactly it. We are just one half.
That was my
Zoheb
first
each.
thought too, Colin.
Yeah. Oh, okay, good. I'm glad we're all on the same page.
Wow.
But yeah, here we are, James Cameron, Terminator, the one that fucking started it all, and not just the franchise, for better or for worse, however you feel about it, but also, I mean, the massive fucking impact this had on cinema in general and also sci-fi, and I mean, and it's so weird because it teeters even a line between like horror, which is fucking awesome. You don't see a lot of movies that teeter that action sci-fi horror thing like that, But yeah, I guess let's start with Danny. Danny, give me your opening impressions of Terminator and how you feel about it. Maybe dip a little bit into the franchise and all that other jazz.
So yeah, I don't have much exposure to Terminator just out of me going and looking for it. I was thinking about this earlier. And I realized you guys tell me if this is kind of true for you guys or not, but your kind of particular taste with movies usually starts with probably what your parents are watching, right? So whatever they've watched in the past and they own, you start getting old enough, like that's what you watch. So I don't know if you guys
are like older siblings as well,
Yeah, family in general, right?
Right.
I gotta say, not for me, man. But I guess I'm just weird like that. Yeah.
Well, I guess what I was trying to say was we never had any of the Terminator movies as a solid copy of anything, so that never got any kind of, we never watched it. But when the third one came out, I remember that it was kind of a big deal, and they watched that a lot. And that was actually my very first impression of it. That was my first exposure to it. And then I think I saw the first one and second one afterwards to kind of tie it all together. But ever since then, whenever probably the third Terminator movie came out, that's the last time I saw anything regarding any of this. I know there's one with Emilia Clarke. I think that's the most recent one. It seems like maybe that one's not good. You guys will probably have to answer that.
I haven't seen it, honestly.
Oh wow!
I don't think I've seen anything past Terminator 3. I never saw the Christian Bale one or Genesis or even the
Salvation. I think is one of them.
Okay, you fucking Terminator noob bitches. Let me just lay down the law for you, motherfuckers. Okay.
Yeah. So that's the end of my thoughts. I'm just gonna go ahead and lay down for Matt.
All right. So first of all, I gotta admit, of all the Terminator ones, the one I've seen the least is this one. I watched it for the second time yesterday.
Likewise.
The second, Terminator 2, I've watched about 1 million times. It is one of the greatest action movies, if not the greatest action movie of all time.
Fuck yes, dude.
It is
fucking
incredible. And I saw this one after watching it 1 million times, maybe 10 years ago. And I was so surprised at how different the tone and genre was. It just totally blew my mind. But for some reason, I ended up seeing it again. But yeah, 2 is this movie's a fucking classic though. 2 is one of the best movies ever made. 3, look, it was just before Arnold went for governor, so it was a bit less violent. It was a bit. It's pretty cheesy at times. It kind of feels like a superhero movie, but from like
it's
that
a lot more
era,
optimistic. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's weirdly optimistic when the world's about to be destroyed too. But I did think it was interesting how like they sort of showed how the war started, and then the one after that, Salvation with Christian Bale. A lot of people didn't like it, but I love that movie. It's like because it's not the future that you see in the other films. It's more like it's very Mad Max in a way, or sort of.
Hell yeah.
But like I love it doesn't feel like a Terminator movie, but I just love everything else about it. I think it's really cool world building and stuff. And the latest one, Genesis, like everybody hates that movie. They trash it, but I think it's kind of cool. It did bonkers well in like China and stuff. But
why does that movie get so much flack? Especially it has two pretty big stars in it, of course.
So they kind of shit on a lot of the legacy in a way. Well, first of all, the first 20 minutes, I don't care what anyone says, it's amazing. It's a recreation of the first few opening scenes with Arnold in this. You know, where he comes up to the punks and fights them. But what they do is they digitally insert that footage with CGI and a lookalike of young Arnold with this new older Arnold, and he has to fight himself. So he goes to kill the punks, and then old Terminator comes in, and they fight each other. So it's literally Arnold Schwarzenegger versus Arnold Schwarzenegger, which is so cool. And so but then what they do from that is John Connor comes back, but now John Connor is a Terminator. He's been like, they say the future's changed, and now the way Skynet takes over things, it's kind of like dipping to the cloud and Apple and iPods and iPhones and shit like that. And so it's like Skynet's part of the internet now. And then, it's like this new type of Terminator. It can like infect humans. Like it's weird. Yeah. So a lot of people hate that. And it's like, and the biggest problem with that is, so with Terminator 2, there's meant to be a twist in the beginning where you find out the Terminator is actually the good guy. But the trailers ruined that by giving that away. And they did the exact same thing when they promoted this film. And both times, apparently, James Cameron was pissed off. The filmmaker behind it, because James Cameron didn't do the latest one, was pissed off. And understandably. But what I love about the Terminator films, man, is just you can't fucking stop him. It's like fighting. It's like if Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers used guns, you know? You can't fuck with that. And he's always going to keep coming. And then in the later films, whenever a Terminator fights another Terminator, it's so inhuman the way they fight, and it's so cool. But what's great about this film is like it has that slasher vibe because there's nothing you can do except run. And even so, he might shoot you in the back. And that's so fucking like scary but cool at the same time, you know? I love the Terminator movies, man. I even like the TV show, the Sarah Connor Chronicles. That wasn't bad. But,
I've heard it's really fucking good. I've just never seen it myself. It's really hard for me to get into television, especially like newer stuff, you know. But
I reckon the show probably doesn't hold up now, but for its time, it was good.
Maybe.
Right.
Well, Colin, what's your thoughts on it?
I don't remember seeing the first one first. I definitely saw the second one first, and it really just didn't even matter as a kid that I hadn't seen the first one. You know, I was just like, oh, cool. There's these two guys or robots are fighting over this kid. And for all intents and purposes, like James Cameron's original idea actually was what was Terminator 2. It was basically like the liquid T-1000. I was blanking on the name real quick. There's T-800, there's T-8000, there's TX. There's so many different ones. But his original idea was one made of liquid metal and another one that was this, big bulking machine. And it wasn't really until he perfected that kind of technology on the Abyss, where they have like those water, kind of like creatures, where he realized, oh, okay, I can actually do this. So years later, that's where like T2 came from with the T1000 and stuff. But
the Capri Sun effect. That's kind of what I always considered it as. Do you guys know what Capri Sun is over there in Australia? Matt,
is that an alcohol?
No, it's a kid's drink that comes in a pouch. But
so it's the opposite.
The commercials are pretty crazy. They're really super 90s. What would happen is the kids would it's almost like they knew Capri Sun was ready, and they would melt into just like with the T2, and would melt it, and they would just fly towards wherever it was at. And they parodied it on YouTube one time where it was like, it's Capri Sun time, and what would happen is all the kids would go into this one big like silver like foil blob. When they got there, they would all like be themselves again, and they'd be like, "Yeah, Capri Sun." This is the commercial, but in the YouTube version, they made fun of it. They like formed into this blob, but when the blob unformed, they were all like fused together, and it was like it was a freak show, and they were like, "Oh my god!"
So I've seen that one on YouTube, but I haven't seen what it's based on. I don't know this. I haven't seen the original.
Every time I see the T2 stuff now, because like I told you guys, I saw Capri Sun commercials before I saw T2. I always thought of like the Capri Sun commercials.
Damn,
it. And they wonder why we do drugs. But yeah, I grew up watching definitely the second one. I love the fuck out of the second one. Matt said it perfectly. It's one of the best action movies of all time, if not the best action movie of all time. It's just so fucking landmark. And watch T2 today, man. T2 stands up like a fucking brick house, man. It is so fucking good. Versus something like this, where you've got the Terminator head in the mirror that looks kind of, but it's 1984. You got to give it some kind of leeway. They were still groundbreaking at the time, and parts of it looked fucking amazing, even in this movie. But I've really only seen up until about the third one. I didn't even really mind T3 because the whole thing of that, I mean, even though it goes back and erases over so much of the meanings of T1 and T2 of like, no fate but what you make it, but T3 was all about them just prepping John Connor for the apocalypse. It was just like, he even says, he's like, there's no way we're going to stop it. This is all about postponing it and like making sure we're as ready as possible. And I like that. It's just kind of like an inevitability thing. They realize no matter how many times you go back and you try to stop that event, that it's just going to happen. So I thought that was a pretty cool aspect on the third one. And I really like Claire Danes. She's a really good actress. And I was like, wow, what the fuck is she doing in T3? That's crazy.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah. Oh no, go ahead.
Well, I just want to bring up something that I noticed while watching this movie, and I think it's so weird. Like, for all the sequels, they pretty much ignore everyone except Schwarzenegger. Like, Linda Hamilton comes back in the second one, but then we never see her again, except there's this untitled new film they're working on now that Linda Hamilton's coming back for. But her career didn't, like, really pick up much after this. Like, she didn't do, like, after this and Terminator 2, she didn't do a lot. And then this guy, Michael Biehn, I think
Michael Biehn or Biehn?
Yeah, Michael Biehn, who plays Kyle Reese. They never bring him back in any other movies, and I haven't seen him do much at all. I looked up at his IMDb, and it looks like most of his credits mostly come down to like things like voice acting and stuff.
He was in Aliens, He's
sorry. And he was in
but still, no, for being in this movie, you would think afterwards, that would have projected him into more stuff.
Yeah, he's got a very particular look,
Yeah, I mean, he was in Tombstone. He is in Tombstone, which is a fucking awesome movie.
Okay, fair enough, but he's not like a huge star or whatever. Same with Linda Hamilton, and it's just crazy to me. Like, sure, Schwarzenegger is amazing in this, but like, what about everybody else? It's so weird that both the franchise and the world seem to like eventually forget about these actors, which is a shame.
Yeah, especially Sarah Connor, and Linda Hamilton, because I mean, T1 versus T2 is a fucking completely different character that she plays, and it's awesome. Like, her transformation is, especially, there's a lot of there's a lot of push to have a lot of strong female characters, in today's, setting and in today's cinema and stuff like that. And sometimes people just, they try to do it and it just doesn't turn out well. And it seems like they're pandering, but with Sarah Connor, like, that is the epitome of like a strong female character to me. Like, her and Ellen Ripley are like, dude, the two most badass women in the fucking universe, and like in terms of like science fiction. But I love this movie. I remember getting it. My next door neighbors, mind you, I'm like 12 or 13 or 14. They give me Roadhouse and Terminator on DVD. And Roadhouse. I grew up in a strong Christian household. Like, we were not allowed to curse, or we didn't watch movies with nudity and stuff like that. And they give me fucking Roadhouse and T1. And I ate it up. I still like T1. It's pretty cool, just because, like you said it's a very different movie tonally, and especially even from T2, very visually. T2's got a lot of these like metallic blues and silvers and black, and versus like T1's kind of got a little bit more of like I love the color palette of, especially of like what Schwarzenegger and what Kyle Reese are wearing, kind of like the drab, dark greenish kind of like military look to it. I love that. I really do. One thing that I did hear about that always kind of pushed me away from this movie just a little bit, and yeah, that's kind of the end of my closing thoughts, but it's something a lot of people don't notice. At the end of this movie, I believe it says something like, the producers wish to acknowledge the creative works of Harlan Ellison. Now, a lot of people don't know who Harlan Ellison is. He was a science fiction writer, just a writer in general. He wrote a lot for like the Outer Limits and stuff like that. And I watched an interview with him that is really like damning of like James Cameron and this whole franchise and stuff. But IMDb summarizes it really well. Science fiction author Harlan Ellison sued James Cameron, claiming that the film was plagiarized from two Outer Limits episodes that Ellison wrote, namely The Outer Limits Soldier and The Outer Limits Demon with a Glass Hand. The concept of Skynet could have also been borrowed from an Ellison short story called I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. The suit was settled out of court, and newer prints of the film acknowledge Ellison. Cameron has claimed that this settlement was forced upon him by the producers. He felt that Ellison was an opportunist making invalid claims and wanted the case to go on trial. However, the studio told him that he would be personally responsible for financial damages in the event he lost the trial, so he had no choice but to accept the settlement, a fact that he has always resented. There's a lot of, man, and I mean, the video that I watched of this interview with Harlan Ellison, he was like, I'm not like nobody in Hollywood. I get scripts, I see scripts, and everybody's talking about this script called The Terminator, and I go to ask to see it, and I can't see it. Which I thought, okay, whatever, people are secretive about their script, so it's not a big deal. He said, so one day they're filming on set, and I was like, oh, hey, can I come and check it out? They're like, no. He's like, again, not a crazy thing. A lot of people have closed sets, and, they keep their script secret. And then when the film actually comes out, Harlan Ellison's like, well, hey, can I come and see it? And they're like, no. And he's like, and that's when I knew something was up. He's like, I knew something was not right. So he snuck in as somebody else's, like he said he was part of their crew, and within 10 minutes, he was like, I knew they'd ripped off like my shit within like 10 minutes. And there is like some pretty damning, like shot for shot, like the cities, like the lasers being shot with this like really like foggy, misty kind of like backdrop and a city destroyed. Like there's so much of it that is very fucking similar.
Interesting.
I definitely think that it's because apparently there's also a magazine. It's got James Cameron in it where they retracted it, where they were like, oh, where'd you get the idea from Terminator? He's like, oh, I just got it from a bunch of Harlan Ellison short stories or something. And like flat out says this. Now, who the fuck would go out and say that? I don't know. So, I mean, I don't want to put like too much stock in that. But at the same time, there is a really big, there's a lot of compelling evidence that this was heavily borrowed from, like Harlan Ellison's works and stuff like that. And, be that as it may, it's still a fucking awesome movie. T2 is still way better than T1 ever will be, in my opinion. So I'm not like, honestly, all that super worried about it. Because all that stuff is so subjective if you really want to look at it. I mean, Matt, you're a creative guy. You do these things. Like how often, do you start writing something and you're like, oh, wow, that's actually really similar to this, and like, I'll do the same thing with music. I'll be writing something and I'm like, oh, that's really similar, blah, blah, blah. And there's so much out there that eventually somebody's going to kind of like copy over each other. It might be true. It might not be true. I don't know. It could just be coincidence, but I've always wanted to point that out because it's got that at the end of the movie, and that really didn't get pushed until after its initial release on like home video and stuff. So I just thought that was an interesting little tidbit. Whether or not you want to agree with it or not, I don't know. I'm not trying to push that, but it is still super interesting.
Nah, yeah, man. Like it's always hard in those situations to prove stuff like that. But you did talk about how the studio was a bit of a like troublesome there. Throughout the entire production of this film, from what I can tell on IMDb in the trivia section, there are multiple stories of the studio just trying to be just really difficult for almost for the sake of being difficult for this film. Like, they kept trying to they were really weird about the budget. They were weird about some of the casting. They were just really weird in general. So it sounds like it was a real mission for James Cameron to even get this movie made. In fact, they had to incorporate a lot of guerrilla style stuff because they couldn't afford to shoot the full crew some days. And apparently the last scene they shot was like a shot of, I'm not sure whereabouts of the film it is because there's a few scenes similar to it, but involves Schwarzenegger breaking into a car. But apparently it's just him and James Cameron on the street with a camera with no permits and stuff. That stuff's so punk rock to me. I love that shit, man.
Fuck yeah, dude. That shit is awesome. That's like, especially, I mean, the shit that they got away with though, like, oh my God, that's fucking crazy. You could never get away with that today. You know, that's so fucking cool.
Apparently a lot of the quote unquote extras in this film are just people who didn't know they were being filmed. So there's a lot of people, like a lot of those scenes, especially I think in the beginning on the street where they're just walking around, there's a whole bunch of people there. Like they didn't know they were in a movie at the time. So
that's so
crazy.
fucking cool.
Anyways, I keep noticing we bring up a lot of, we're mentioning a lot of specific examples here. So maybe we should just get into it. Hey.
Yep.
Yeah, right. Before we jump into it, I am going to shamelessly plug our socials. If you guys want to, you can always find us on Facebook at Midnight Double Feature. You know, we've also got the After Party, which is connected to that. We're on we're on Twitter at MDF Pod. You can also find us on Instagram at Midnight Double Feature. We're on YouTube. If you guys ever want to send us an email, we're also midnightdoublefeature@gmail.com. And please feel free and rate and review us. Stop by. We're really looking, like I'm paying attention more to the reviews now. I think that's a really good reflection. We've been getting a lot of good reviews, and it's always just awesome to hear that. Even if you don't write something out, you just go and hit the 1-star, the 5-star, whatever the fuck you feel like hitting. It's nice to have that feedback. And yeah, without any further ado, I say we just go ahead and get right into this shit. So I mean, these opening shots are just fucking, I mean, it's awesome. The tank rolling over the skulls. I mean, like all of the, it screams, like you said, like Mad Max Fallout, post-apocalyptic, just that my kind of, like, I mean, I hate to say it, that's like my kind of shit. That's like right up my alley.
And you know what's crazy about this, right? So it starts off with the text, Los Angeles 2029 AD. And at the time of recording this, it is 2018. So it's only about 10, 15 years away. And it's completely accurate. It is exactly like what Los Angeles is like today. It is a wasteland of garbage. That's amazing. Like, how did they predict that?
That would be so fucking funny if that was just like historically accurate. Like LA had become like that. Like Detroit was run by RoboCop. LA was like the Terminator. Like all these different shits. But we get a nice little summary right here though. The machines rose from the ashes of the nuclear fire. Their war to exterminate mankind has raged for decades, but the final battle would not be fought in the future. It would be fought here in our present tonight.
Do you remember back when like films often had that text appear on screen to start things off, like the way a book would, with like is it epilogue?
Like a preface?
No. What's the thing? What's the opposite of an epilogue?
A preface.
Yeah, like a introduction. Yeah, like a preface thing. Yeah, like the other films I don't think do this. It's very like, I just always feel like Star Wars when I see stuff like that, and it's weirdly nostalgic, even though I wasn't born until 91. So. Yeah,
no, for sure. I'm born in 90 and I know exactly what you mean. But yeah, you know, we get this text, we see the world that we're in, you know, these great, have you guys ever played the Terminator arcade game where you have the two guns, you can play with a friend and you're like, it's kind of like it's like House of the Dead, like kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that shit is so much fucking fun, man. Like, every time I go to an arcade now, anytime we go on vacation, we'll go to, like, you know, Pigeon Forge or Gatlinburg or you know, we went to Florida, and I was like, okay, I want $40 to go dump into an arcade. Because that is so much fucking fun to me, man, and I love going, I always look for that Terminator game, or they have, like, an Alien one, where you're just, like, you're on this huge-ass gun, just, like, and it's actually recoiling, and just, I was like, oh, that's just so fucking cool.
I haven't seen the Alien one. I haven't seen the Alien one, hey, but I've definitely seen the Terminator one. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same shit, you know.
So we get the title after this, hey, and the music is so fucking 80s. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Mega 80s.
So 80s, like...
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.
Talk about an iconic theme song. Holy shit. That's probably one of the most iconic, like, music scores in history, I think.
Dude, it's so weird because I'm a huge fan of, it's a 1986 horror vampire movie called Fright Night. It's got Chris Sarandon and Roddy McDowall and Amanda Beers. And it's awesome. It's you know, it's got kind of like a cult following now, but it was a huge movie like when it came out. And the guy who wrote the music for that, I've always loved the music for that movie. It's got this really beautiful like melody that kind of plays. But the same guy who wrote the music for that wrote the music for Terminator. His name's Brad Fiedel. Yeah, like the guy's written some awesome music. I was like, wow, it's so cool when you start connecting the dots with somebody behind the scenes, and you're like, no wonder I like this. You're in like 3 of the other fucking things that I like. But we see the Terminator, he emerges. God, fucking Arnold's pecs, dude. Like his chest muscles are like, good God, man. Like, of course, I'm fucking sitting there eating like vanilla wafers and a glass of milk in my underwear at like 10:30 in the morning. I'm like, yeah, I should probably go to the gym. But
you and me both, brother. And I gotta say though, like I first saw this movie, I think it was like 10 years ago or something, right? I was probably in high school. But even back then, I thought this electricity looked kind of like insanely fake. And this is one effect. Like, I get what's going on, but it doesn't hold up super well to me.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, it's I'm trying to think of what it reminds me. Highlander. That's what I was fucking trying to think of, dude. Yeah. Like dirty city kind of thing, like lightning. Like I think Highlander does it really well. But that's honestly, I see your point though. It's not like the greatest in the world.
It's all that same exact style of lightning. I feel like showed up in everything around that time, like Return of the Jedi when Luke's getting almost killed, baked by Palpatine in the end. That house almost has that identical lightning effect that it seems like all movies around that time meant to use.
Yeah. I also feel like I'd be, someone has to say it. So I'll be the guy. Arnold's got a great butt. Yeah, man, this dude doesn't skip leg day. He definitely does his squats. He's got a pretty good butt.
Well, it's like
all demographics here.
It's like you really can't deny, like, it's like, just you can't deny that it's bad, but you like, yeah, I guess it's good. Fuck,
the guy that gets cornered by him. Sorry, Colin. the guy that gets cornered by him. I'm watching this as we're talking. Of course, he gets cornered by him. Takes off his jacket. I don't know what that's supposed to do. Like he thought maybe him getting naked would make him more powerful.
He's like, okay, now I get it. You run around and take your clothes off at night, and you absorb. Okay, I get it.
He shrivels up, and then the camera turns to another favorite lightning effect.
Yeah. Dude, do you guys know who one of these punks is at the beginning of this? If you didn't catch it, you're fired. I'm sorry.
It looked like Mark Ruffalo in the middle with blue spiky hair, but it isn't him.
No, dude. It's fucking Bill Paxton.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it is.
I looked it
up.
Holy
shit.
Bill Paxton is also in this movie with a guy named Lance Henriksen, who is one of the best actors of all time. Like, I fucking love Lance Henriksen,
wow,
dude.
You're a little passionate there, aren't you?
I am, dude. Like, because Lance Henriksen has been in Aliens. I think he's in one of the Aliens versus Predator movies. He's in Terminator. He was in Pumpkinhead. Like, he's in a shit ton of movies, and he is fucking awesome. Later. Yeah, right. Exactly. Lance Henriksen was fucking illiterate till the age of 30 when he started reading scripts and shit. Like, this guy is, and I learned that from a post in LSG the other day, but Lance Henriksen and Bill Paxton are the only 2 actors to have ever been killed by a Predator, a Terminator, and a Xenomorph.
Wow.
I was like, wow.
What an honor.
Dude. Yeah, exactly. Lance Henriksen is just the fucking bomb. If anybody doesn't know that name, he's Bishop in Aliens, the infamous android who pops up in several of those movies. Either way, yeah, they both get annihilated in this. And I'm like, wow. And both of them, a lot of these guys wind up coming on to Cameron movies later. Michael Biehn, Lance Henriksen, Bill Paxton, like a lot of these people went on to do more James Cameron movies. So I guess he's fun to work with. I don't know. What were you going to say, Matt?
So as I mentioned earlier, this scene is recreated in Terminator Genesis. And my biggest criticism of that is they get the hair wrong. Like they do everything else to a T. They literally digitally take Arnold's out of this footage and they put him into new footage and stuff. But they recast they get lookalikes for the punks. But they changed the dude's the blue spiky hair to a mohawk, and I never understood why. But I also miss these old movies when like punks were like the bad guys and stuff. Like, I don't know, right? Like I miss that
up to no good, and our hair color's different than yours.
Yeah, but I always thought it was funny though, because like, so these are like the rebellious people who don't give a fuck and rah rah. But just imagine them 20 minutes early before going out to cause trouble. They're there for like 40 minutes in front of the mirror, like dyeing their hair blue, hairspraying each spike, and say, I don't give a fuck. Don't touch my hairspray.
It's so funny because they're fucking hanging out at like a telescope. They're like trying to look up a planet. Like, oh, see, and right here you've got the Sagittarius constellation.
And then they're like, "Fucking nerd, get out of here!"
Technically nerds.
And then they get them walking by, and they're like, "All right, there's Ursula Major right over there."
This shit that cracks me up. Okay, so we get introduced to Kyle Reese, who's one of our protagonists, who eventually will father the child of the resistance that he's sent to protect, which winds up racking up a whole bunch of other problems that I can't even really get into.
I can wrap my head around that a little bit.
I was like, no, it's like this is okay. It's a movie. It's a movie.
Also, like in terms of superhero landings, that landing that he has is brutal.
Yeah,
he smacks the fuck out of that concrete.
He clearly not as experienced Terminator in
yeah. Arnold just lands so elegantly, and then he's like, "Oh God!"
Fuck, man, yeah.
One of the parts that cracks me up, obviously, he's come from the future, he's disoriented, he runs into that cop, he wrestles the cop, gets the gun, and he's like, what's the date? What is it? He's like, Friday, the 14th of September. He's like, what year is it? The way the cop responds to him, he's like, what? The way he says it, it makes me think of those old G.I. Joe PSAs that they fucking like 10 years ago they started doing like
get us started on those
pork chop sandwiches, get the fuck out of here. Like, dude,
what are you doing the fuck out of here, you dumb idiot?
It reminded me so much.
That smelled so good.
Do what?
Yeah, can you clear this up for me? Because it's a bit unclear with the way they've cut it here. Did he steal the pants off the homeless guy?
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
It looks like the homeless guy's still wearing pants whenever it kind of cuts back, and he's like, "Hey, what the?"
Like I don't know, like that confused me.
I think he's got like some long johns on underneath or something like that. I think he just jacks.
Have a lot of layers on.
Yeah, I think he just jacks his top layer.
Yeah. Also, these scars that he's got, like, pretty fucking brutal.
Oh yeah,
yeah, man.
He's been hit by a mortar or two.
And it's crazy you were talking about them not ever bringing back the character of Kyle Reese, because like I absolutely wouldn't mind, even if it's like a fan-made thing, like what they did for Darth Maul. Like there's an awesome fan-made YouTube videos on there. If they did one of these for Kyle Reese, like showing the shit that Kyle Reese had to go through, like we see bits and pieces of it, and maybe it's not that super interesting, but to the hardcore fans, I mean, I would love to see that. I'm not even a hardcore fan, but I just think that would be super interesting to see what this guy has gone through,
Well, we do get a little bit of that in some of the later later sequels, but it's not the same actor. So he just looks completely different. So and I never understood that, like why they went through so much effort. Like every single Terminator film, a different actor plays John Connor. They've had the same actor play John Connor 2 films in a row.
Oh, wow.
2,
yeah, that's interesting.
He's in number 2, 3, 4, and Genesis, and every time it's a different actor. And I just never got that because they keep Arnold the same. It never made sense to me.
Right, yeah. I see that point. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, I
just love this whole scene of him like trying to avoid the cops inside the shopping mall. It really does, like, you're like, what's going on? How are they doing it? I always thought it was pretty crazy.
He jacks those Nikes and we get our shameless product plugs out of the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, he jacks those Nikes, gets the cop car, gets the shotgun, which is important as well. And we see him go to
the Terminator franchise has done wonders for the shotgun industry. Okay.
Oh God, yes.
This whole franchise makes shotguns look so fucking cool. No other film make shotguns look as cool as they do in these Terminator films. I just gotta say.
All right, yeah, I mean 80s movies in general, but absolutely, like when he unloads on him at that club Tech Noir, like later on, like dude, holy shit, like shotguns were such an 80s thing, like which everybody just acted like you could shoot a shotgun from. I mean, a shotgun's not even, depending on what it is, like lethal from several feet away. Like the farther out you get, it's like ow, like, stop, that kind of hurt. It's like you got popped by a pellet.
It's a close range weapon, but yeah.
Right, yeah.
And this movie fucking loves phone booths.
Oh, yeah.
Right here, he's in the phone booth. I think they go to a phone booth at least. I'm going to start counting them, but Kyle Reese goes to one here. It's his first time. But I'm going to predict it happens maybe 6 or 7 times. And we'll see as we go on.
It's like the Matrix. They're just plugging in and trying to get the fuck out every time.
Yeah. I guess they didn't have mobile phones back then, and this movie also does love the phone book. But yeah, it's
crazy
part
to
of its
think
time.
that it's crazy to think that phone books ever existed. Could you imagine a book full of everybody's numbers now with like their private their phone number?
We still
like,
get it. No, but it doesn't have all the info it used to.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. I was like, dude, like that's fucking crazy that's something that you can still like you can just look up my number and have it right there. Like I don't care. I mean, I don't really give a fuck, but like you would think by now someone would have freaked the fuck out and ruined that for everyone.
Dude, it's crazy to think that someone back in the day, their job was to make sure it was all there in alphabetical order, fact check all of them. Like that's crazy.
That's a lot of shit, man. But either way, yeah, we see him cop the shotgun. I love the shot of him, tucking the shotgun. He pops the collar and walks off. Very fucking Blade Runner, man. That looks a lot like Blade Runner, especially 2049 with the collar popped and like these street lights. I think I thought that looked really incredible. And we're introduced to Sarah, because you were riding that fucking moped from Grand Theft Auto Vice City.
With the most 80s haircut, the female mullet.
Dude.
The bangs.
And it's crazy because like her hair does her no justice. Like she's a very pretty woman, and it's like, dude, that hair though, like holy shit, like you look like you're in a White Snake cover band.
Well, I'm sure it was trendy back then, right? Like,
oh fuck yeah,
yeah.
That
When
being
we were
said,
watching
like-
this earlier, my wife saw them doing their hair, which is later. We're not there yet, but they're doing their hair and the makeup, and my wife's like, "Fuck, that's so 80s."
But even like the jeans she's wearing, like I think it's so funny, like how like retros come back, because a lot of girls like wear jeans like this now. Like,
oh yeah, like the the circle 90s glasses that were real big, like oh god, what's his name? I'm gonna butcher the Leon the
Aviators?
Professional.
Is that it?
No. Those is it Jean Reno, the guy who has like the circle glasses? He's in Leon the Professional. He's in Ronin and
Jean Reno.
Jean Reno. Thank you. God damn it, I could not like think of his name. But those kind of glasses, I know exactly what you mean. Like this, like late 80s, like early 90s retro kind of vibe is like in full swing, like especially with like clothing and stuff right now. I mean, it's disgusting and I hate it, but whatever. No, I'm just kidding.
Can I ask you guys a question? So
Absolutely not.
So when she comes in, and like she has like that punch card thing that she goes into work. I don't know if it's just before my time or if it's an American thing, but like that way to sign into work. Have you guys ever experienced anything like that, or is that just from like another decade?
Yeah. Colin and I both worked at the same grocery store, and most places now you would probably clock in digitally. You know, there's a clock, and you probably swipe a badge. I think that's how Colin probably clocks in maybe
For
now.
sure.
But
Yeah.
where we came from, we did have those time punch cards where you went under it and it's stamped in. That way you couldn't write in your own time or whatever. I had to add them up all the time.
It felt kind of badass, actually. It was kind of like, yeah, punching the clock. What, I fucking work at a coal mine in the 30s? Like, what the fuck?
Do you guys just get paid out of like trust however many hours you work in Australia? The fuck's up with that?
Well,
Like, we got to track all
I've
our time.
never had a job where we've had to do that. So I've always thought maybe it's a thing from the movies, or it's an American thing, or maybe it was just like happened in the 80s or whatever. Like, I had jobs where I'd just show up and they said, "Hey, what's up?" and that would be it. Or I had ones where like, we had to like
"Get off
log
my
in via a
property.
computer or
Put your
something
clothes
like that.
on.
But yeah, never I've had to punch a card, and I just wanted to ask. 'cause it
Now, to
happens
be
here.
fair, that place where we worked was like way behind the times with some stuff, except
Man, yeah, we had to unload trucks, and the ramp that we had that went up to there was probably there before the building was even there for whatever reason. Like
This
the
looked like-
compressor that they used for like lifting it up and down was like covered up with a cardboard box, and it took forever to go up and down. It was just awful.
That's fucking shady, dude. I remember that shit. But either way, yeah, we see Sarah at her job. Man, I do not miss working in a fucking restaurant, man. I worked in a fucking restaurant for almost 5 years, and every time I see somebody working in a restaurant now, I'm like, God, you poor bastard. Like in a movie or something like that, I'm like, hey, if you like it, great. But like most people, 90% of them are like, no, this is just a temporary gig. Don't worry, Sarah, because you're going to be the mother of the reverse Antichrist, I guess, whatever we want to call John Connor.
Well, actually, it's more like the new Jesus Christ. And fun fact, John Connor, same initials as Jesus Christ.
Oh, shit.
So
Nice.
there's this amazing article on crack.com. I remember
I
reading
love
it years ago.
crack.com, man.
Oh, it's so great. It's such a shame that they had to close down the video division, but because that was my favorite. But like, there's this great article I remember reading ages ago, and they were talking about like the weird symbolism things you see in a lot of films, and a big one is making the hero reminiscent of Jesus Christ with their name. So that's why a lot of action films, the lead hero is named Jack or John or something like that. And it always ends up being JC, or another popular one you'll see in some like movies or video games. The guy's last name is something like Shepherd, where it's like, it's very like biblical and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
You'll see shit like that happen a lot. And then obviously there's so many films where like you think the person's dead, but they're back from the dead, and very Jesus.
Right.
But yeah, moving forward.
We see that he finds his first target there, which, as you're saying, behind the scenes, there was some things that they shot without getting permits. This is the first one. They just went into that house and shot that woman with a paintball gun. And then afterwards, they're like, this is for a movie. We're sorry. We know you're not Sarah.
No. They actually go in and murder her, and then it's them standing over her body, like throwing a couple of $100 bills. Like, hey, we'd really appreciate it if you could just like let this one go. Like, like they're trying to be cool about it.
I love seeing him break into this first car. The way he just like smashes it to pieces with no effort. It is so just like robotic, and I'm gonna get this done. I love that. It's such a great intro. Well, it's kind of the second time we've seen him, but still they're setting it up of who this character is, and they do it so well with these first few scenes.
Oh yeah, showing that the fucks that he gives are none. But yeah, we see her working at the restaurant. We just so much pity for this. All the orders are fucked up, and that kid dumping ice cream in her apron. Like, dude, I would have smeared that shit right back in that fucking kid's face.
And what made her think that was what she wanted to hear whenever the woman walks by? And she's like, "Don't worry, in 100 years, none of this is gonna matter." She's gonna be like, what about fucking right now?" Yeah, also, why did that kid do that?
I have a feeling that's like them writing the script, just being like, "Ooh, we're gonna set it up for about the future." It's like, no, don't do that.
I thought that was
in 1984. Maybe everybody, whenever they said maybe in 100 years this won't matter, and they left, everybody was like, "Ooh."
Well, it's crazy because 100 years later, it does matter. We can't stop thinking about that ice cream, right? With this scene, it's like, they're trying to set her up like she's the average Joe, normal person, but I still can't get over this kid. I really can't, because it's such a weird thing to do. It's like he intentionally takes a scoop of his ice cream that he could eat, slowly moves it over and puts it in her pocket. It's the weirdest prank. It's the weirdest thing to do. Like, I would never understand what went through that kid's mind. Like, it seems so unnormal. Like,
I know nobody seems offended about it. Like, it's almost like she looked at the mom and dad and was like, "Can you believe your child just did that?" And they're like, "Oh, kids." And you're like, no.
The mom and dad are like putting ice cream into other waitresses like pockets and shit. She's like, "God damn it."
Now this next scene is I just want to let you guys know, this is how every Australian views America. This guy just walks in, he lists 5 guns by name, he goes, "Do you want to pay for it?" And he just shoots the guy and he walks up with the guns. That's how I assume most transactions go in the States, right?
Well, not only that, he's like, "Oh yeah, can I get an Uzi, 2 shotguns, a rifle, a medium Coke, and a large fry?"
Yeah,
that's what you forgot. Your complimentary Bible as well in your bag.
Yes, because the Bible is all about kill thy neighbor.
He's like, "Janice, can you get some extra guns out of the back?" She turns into Capri Sun and goes back there and gets it.
Yes. Man, I love it where he's like, so he lists like 5, like he lists enough weapons to like take down a small army, right?
Yeah, and this guy isn't suspicious about that at
he's
all,
not even.
he?
He goes, "That's a pretty good gun to protect your family with." It's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Also, good thinking, putting the bullets right next to the guns you're about to sell to somebody.
You know what?
And then he puts the shell in there. You can't do that.
He deserves it. He just walked into that. I also just love how like the price tag is hanging off it as he shoots him. It's so great.
like it's a guitar and fucking Sam Ash.
And that shot of like the smoking barrel, also so 80s filmmaking. I love it. And the one-liners, bro. Like, we can't forget the one-liners. Like, you can't do that. Wrong.
I hated that, dude. I hate it. Because, I mean, for one thing, it's a Terminator. He wouldn't fucking, let me access my comedic quip death hard drive and just like throw out a quick little one-liner here, you know, which he actually fucking does later on.
In the extended extended version of this scene, when he goes out the door, he holds the door open for somebody walking in. He's like, bother me.
Yeah. That's fucking awesome.
That's with this film, there are a few. You could tell. I think they were still trying to figure out the character a little bit. I think they perfected in Terminator 2, but there are a few moments when Arnold does show emotion, and there's like a scene coming up soon where like he almost looks concerned. I'll point it out when it happens, but yeah, it's like little things like that. But you know what? I think when it comes to filmmaking and stuff like this, it's okay to suspend your suspensive disbelief for the sake of coolness. Like, I'm okay if they do something out of character or whatever, as long as it's fucking either funny or cool. And that one line is pretty cool.
And to risk it, you got to have some kind of reward for it there. I see what you mean.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Can you guys explain to me, because this is the one thing I never understood. In the next shot, he's like, Kyle Reese is like, he's getting a rope and like tying it around his arm. It makes me, he's not doing drugs, but so he's attaching to the gun somehow. Does anyone know what's going on?
I guess it's like something to keep it like tucked into his sleeve or something like that. That's the only thing I could really take away from it. Is it like a makeshift holster? Because he can't like hold it. You know, I guess it's just something to have it like tied around it.
A strap.
I
think
guess,
you're right.
Yeah, some kind of strap.
I think you're right, actually. Yeah.
But dude, this scene, you know, we see Kyle Reese, you know, out and about with the shotgun. But this scene of Arnold going to the first Sarah Connor's house is one of my favorite scenes in the movie, you know, strictly because, like, for one thing, she's these really striking eyes, these really beautiful eyes, you know, these big blue eyes, and her looking through the thing, she's just kind of like, yeah. And he's like, you know, Sarah Connor, and like signs her own destiny. As soon as she says something, the way he punches the lock in, like the slow-mo shot of his face. Yeah. It's crazy because there's just no reaction from him. Like his hair moves and just like, that's it. Like he's just immediately like, okay, target, here I go, like going in and fucking unloads like what, 6 or 7 shots into her. Like, goddamn, dude. Yeah. I guess we should also say at this point, he's narrowed it down to 3 Sarah Connors, so they don't know exactly who it is. So he's going to be hunting down 2 or 3 of them, you know?
Well, it's almost like she somehow can tell something's off. Like once she sees him, she knows something's wrong. And if you just back up, as he's walking to the house, there's so many things that are alluding to what happens in the future. Like, first of all, there's like the toy truck that he runs over. Like that, something similar happens near the end. And you have this little, like, cute little, I think it's like a chihuahua or a poodle or something. It's barking at him, which later on we find out that dogs, like, they can tell, and that's why they bark at him.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So these things, they're planting seeds for later on. And I love that sort of stuff. It's really cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's super slick. But yeah, he kills the first Sarah Connor, and then we move on to, well, actually, we see that they tell Sarah that she's dead while she's at work, and, you know, she sees the first death, which is important.
Yeah, the friend's a little overly excited to hear about a death on the news, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, these are one of these people.
Isn't this fantastic news? She should be like, you need to fucking talk to someone there.
Yeah. She's one of those people that like listens to true crime, and she's like, I mean, I hate hearing about murder. It's just awful, but blah, blah, blah. You know, she's one of those people that tries to justify it. Yeah, right. But yeah, you know, they tell her that she's dead, you know, blah, blah, blah. You know, she sees the first death, which is really all that we really need to take away from it. But then this scene with Kyle Reese, this flashback, if you want to call it that, this memory is fucking awesome, dude. Like it felt so.
I like the transition from the treads of that construction equipment turning into the treads of, I guess, one of those. I guess that's supposed to be another model of Terminator. You guys will have to tell me that if that's in. I
can't remember what it is. I think he even says something about like hunter killers at one point.
Hunter killers are the ones that fly.
Okay, thank you.
The ones that roll, they have another name. I can't remember what they're called. But yeah, and then later on he mentions another model of Terminator called the T-600, which is rubber skin. But this one that we have in the film, Schwarzenegger's the T-800.
He's like, they're trying to name the tank. He's like, we've got the Hunter Killer, the TX100, the T1000, the X3, and the Roly Poly Holy. But yeah, I fucking love this scene. Not only because, like I said, I want to see more about Kyle Reese. I want to see more about him because why was he chosen? Why was he chosen to go? You know, I know he volunteered, quote unquote, but like obviously John Connor has a lot of faith in this dude to let him go back and protect his own fucking mom and, you know, in turn protect his own life and in turn protect everybody's lives. Like, I want to see more about this dude. I think that would be awesome.
I'm gonna point out something. It's a little nitpicky, but there's the wide shot of they're like running through like the war zone and stuff. Most of it's out of focus. It's focusing on like some rubble in the foreground, but as they run from the front to background, like they go out of focus, and it's a little nitpicky, I know, but
well, that's it. Turn the movie off. No, I'm just kidding.
Classic film ruin.
Well, I mean, you're a director, dude. You're a fucking director, of course.
These big roly-poly ones, they're like mini ones similar to it in Terminator 3, I remember. And I think they're meant to be, and those were meant to be the first form of Terminator, I think. So maybe they took influence from this movie. Yeah.
It's like the Sentry bots out of Fallout.
Yeah. And when they get into that car, it's so Mad Max with all the lights on it and stuff, I feel.
Oh, yeah, dude. It's so Mad Max. And another thing, and Danny, I mean, we just can't deny it because we're such big fans of the Halo game.
I knew you were going to bring this up.
But, dude, I mean, especially look at Aliens more so than Terminator. Look at the sequel, the second one that James Cameron did, and holy shit. I mean, those are fucking literally the Space Marines like out of Halo. But it gave me the feeling of like being in the Gauss Warthog and just fucking shooting down banshees, dude, and just fucking like unloading at them.
Yeah.
Back when we would play like Infection and like somebody flying around like trying to kill us as we're all on like Warthogs and shit. Like, God, what a fucking great! You want to play some Halo after we're done with this?
Yeah, let's do it.
So, I should also mention we mentioned Mad Max. Apparently, James Cameron has said that he took some inspiration from Mad Max 2 for this.
Oh, sweet.
Not sure whereabouts, but Mel Gibson was also considered to be, I can't remember if it was Kyle Reese or Schwarzenegger's character, but one of them.
Oh, yeah, I think it's the Terminator, yeah.
Yeah, he was considered for a moment. Also, just before we get to that flashback scene, a small thing I noticed that I liked is seeing Kyle Reese struggle with hot wiring the car. After only a few scenes earlier, we saw how easy it was for the Terminator. And like it's little things like that I like that shows like the struggle that Kyle's up against, because this Terminator is so perfect at everything and like he's only human, you know? So
that's a good catch. 10 points to Gryffindor.
Yeah. I just like to see how as a person like they struggle with even like the small things in comparison.
Yeah, no, that's a good catch, man. That's fucking great. It's logical. It makes sense. It makes sense that he could just bust in there and like level 100 lockpick this thing and just be done with it, you know.
Yeah. He grinded to level up.
Yeah. But we see this, you know, we're just kind of getting a little bit of background on Kyle Reese. You know, we see, just kind of him having PTSD nightmares from it. You know, he snaps out of it and we get over to Sarah and her roommate Ginger, which is a terrible name for a human being, by the way. Ginger is a spice and the name of a dog I had when I was in 4th grade.
Yeah, Ginger, this character Ginger, literally every scene I think she's in, she's singing along to something in her headphones.
Right,
and I get it. At the time, it's a new technology, but it's so cringy nowadays. It's like you can use speakers. Yeah. Like the only reason she talks to Sarah is because of Fallout.
The Walkman coming along was a big deal then. Everybody could finally listen to music without it blasting and just walking around. I think we're at different parts of the movie, so it's funny. I'm already to the scene where I don't know we're skipping too far ahead, but where she's already listening to music and he's entering their home, their apartment, or whatever that is.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe think that's the first that's the first scene where we end up seeing Arnold break character and have emotion because he just laughs watching her dance around to some of the music that she's listening to.
You look over, he's like dancing and shit.
Dude, but this phone call scene though, when Sarah picks up and Ginger's
it's
boyfriend,
pretty funny, dude.
It's pretty crazy. Also, she's wearing a t-shirt of the Jetsons, which is a family from the future.
With the theme of the Flintstones, which is almost like a meta thing back then.
Yeah. Yeah, totally, man.
The part that really cracks me up about this is he's like, I'm going to pull your underwear off with my teeth, and then I'm going to, blah, blah, blah. He does this whole spiel, and Sarah lets him do it, and he gives the phone to Ginger, and as soon as she gets the phone, she's like, hello, I'm going to pull your underwear off. And he just goes right back into it.
It'd been funny if it was like, this isn't your girlfriend. He was like, and then afterwards, I'm going to put you on.
I love that, like, that she's laughing at him and stuff. It is funny, but if they were to remake this film now, like, her reaction would be like, it's whatever his name is. Her reaction would be like, I want to me too, you motherfucker. You're dead. I want to ruin your career. How dare you verbally assault me over the phone?
Oh God, I just saw one where something's come out against like Neil deGrasse Tyson, the astrophysicist. I'm like, no, dude. No. I fucking love Neil deGrasse Tyson, man. But either way, I don't want to get off on a tangent.
Yeah. But I also love how douchey this guy looks too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like this guy looks like one of the prison rapists out of Shawshank. Like as soon as I was like, dude, you look like Boggs Diamond in Shawshank. But I love this because I love this. Not the scene of them getting ready and all that other shit. I don't give a fuck about that. But no, when they cut to when they cut over to the police. Yeah, and we get the infamous, the immortal fucking Lance Henriksen. But he's he's talking to his superior, and he's telling him basically who's Lieutenant Ed Traxler is played by Paul Winfield. He's basically the head in command. We've got Detective Hal Vukovich, which I don't even think they say their fucking names are hardly ever. But basically they find out that there's been 2 Sarah Connors that have been murdered tonight, and this is obviously not a coincidence. I think he even makes a joke. He's like, God, they're going to start calling him the fucking alphabet killer or like something like that.
Yeah.
And this was
phone book killer.
Yeah. This was it was kind of, this was 1984, was kind of like a heyday for a lot of serial killers and shit like that. So that joke is like, not just 84, the 80s in general, but that joke is like super relevant. I was like, wow, that's actually kind of crazy. Like try to take yourself out of today's context and put yourself into that one. It's like, that's like super relevant. Like at that time, obviously there's still serial killers and shit out, but I was like, oh, that's fucking crazy. I love Lance Henriksen. God, I hate the weird ones. But yeah, we see, Sarah's basically waiting on her date. Ginger's going out with, they're staying out or going out with her boyfriend. I don't know why, because this doesn't really make any sense. Well, she gets ready, and then it's like they don't really go anywhere, do they? I think they just stay.
Because the phone call is that her date dumped her.
I get that, but like, can't the other couple still go out? Like, don't Ginger and her boyfriend like, all right, cool, we'll see you later, like, blah, blah, blah. Like,
yeah, like, it would have probably made more sense if Ginger and the boyfriend went to Tech Noir and Sarah stayed home, but I guess they needed a way to get her out of the house. I don't know, but the thing that confused me most...
they had the house to themselves, and he showed up.
Yeah, so, I don't know, maybe it was like a plot thing, but the thing that confused me most is this fucking gecko. It's a gecko, right? This lizard? Like,
I think, yeah.
Iguana?
Iguana. It's iguana, yeah, that's right. I was like expecting them to do more with it. Like, it comes back in a scene later on where it like does like a fake out scare. So I'm guessing maybe that's its purpose, but it's like, I expect more, like at least make Arnold kill the iguana,
That's the only thing I could imagine you were going to say, dude, like he walks up to it's like Sarah Connor and it's just shooting its little tongue out.
Sarah Connor.
Yes, Arnold like sticks his tongue out real far. Like,
he's speaking the language.
But yeah, either way, Sarah leaves the apartment. Ginger and her boyfriend stay behind, and she's heading off to Tech Noir, I believe, right? Is where, and then she's followed closely by Kyle Reese. Also, I'm a big fan of synthwave kind of music. There's a really, really, really great group called Gunship that do a song called Tech Noir. That's actually really, really good. There's a lot of good remixes by that and stuff. So I'm not sure if they lifted that from this. But that's apparently a term that James Cameron says that he's come up with for like films like this and Blade Runner and things that kind of fit into that genre, like stuff that's set in the future but kind of has like an old school kind of like noir detective kind of feel to it,
This film, like the first half of it, does have that really almost noir sort of vibe a little bit. Like it's not a detective story, but It's not a straight up slasher either. This film's
Like a
whole
suspense.
vibe and tone really does have its own. It's in like a league of its own. Like, if I said to you, "Give me what's a film similar to the Terminator?" It's hard to think of one, right?
Yeah, I mean, right off the top of my head, it's like something that comes back in time and kills people. Like, yeah, there's not really a whole lot I can think that's like super similar to that.
Yeah,
But I know
in
what you mean,
fact-
Matt. Like, what matches the pace and the tone of the other half of it? That it is hard to put your thumb on. Yeah.
Because it's kind. I guess the thriller is the best way to call it, but like it has an action feel to it, but it also feels like a horror at the same time. It's so bizarre, and apparently, James Cameron, like he made this think it's of a horror, but apparently, like a lot of people, just the press referred to it as an action film, and they praised it for that. And so apparently, that's what inspired him to do more action films going in, is because he did a horror film that people perceived as action. And so that's what sort of motivated him. He's like, oh, I must be good at action. So he started doing more of that, apparently.
Oh, that's super interesting. But yeah, we see Kyle following Sarah to, actually, I don't even think she's at Tech Noir yet. She's just somewhere eating or something like that. But this is where she hears about the third, or no. This is still the second Sarah Connor killing. We're just hearing it from the news now instead of the police. And we see that, the police have got heat, breathing down their necks, so they'll figure out what's going on. But this, and I like this. Sarah's not dumb. She's not some dumb 80s, like, oh my God, that's a weird coincidence. Whatever. Bye. She's, right. Yeah. She's totally startled by this. Who wouldn't be? If somebody came out and told you there were 2 Danny Harleys or 2 Matt Vellas murdered tonight, you'd be like, oh, that's fucking weird. That's pretty odd.
Dude, there are a lot of Matt Vellas out there. I'm just going to put this out there. And a lot of them are like super successful. There is a Matt Vella that is a senior editor for Time Magazine. There's a Matt Vella that worked on, used to work for Midway. And I think he worked on one of the old school Mortal Kombat games. There's a Matt Vella in Europe who is like a host of a fucking car show. Like, meanwhile, I'm here.
Do you have Matt Vella like conventions or some shit? How do you?
I don't know. Oh, here's another true story. When I was studying film, and like film school and stuff, one day I went to rent out some equipment, and this guy goes, "No, you've rented too much. You need to return your stuff first." I'm like, "Excuse me, I ain't got shit." And he's like debating with me and goes, "Look, I got it right here. There's your student number." I'm like, "That's not my student number." Turns out there was another Matt Vella also studying film at the same fucking school. And then like a few months later, I get a text from a friend who goes, "Hey bro, I saw your documentary. It's really good." I'm like, "I didn't do a documentary." There's another fucking Matt Vella within my own local community doing the same shit that I do, bro. Like, there's too many Matt Vellas out there. If there was a Terminator out there killing off a few, he'd be doing me a favor. No offense, Matt, if you're listening.
Wow.
But yeah.
Jesus, this fucking pod got dark.
You're going to be the Matt Vella that got famous for being a serial killer.
What's so funny?
That's definitely not me.
It'd be hilarious if there were actually a Terminator killing Matt Vellas right now, and you just hear Matt's door get kicked in. It's just a fucking drop.
No, get the other one. The other one.
But yeah, this is where she finds out that these other Sarah Connors have been killed. She sees that her name is next in the phone book, and she kind of sees that she's being followed by Kyle Reese. This is where she kind of dips off into Tech Noir, and which is now finally where she's at it. She's not at her fucking, she wasn't at it before. I can't remember I don't know where the hell she was before. But yeah, she tries to call the roommate. The roommate won't answer the phone because she's getting her pipe stuffed. And then and that's where we get the Terminator rolling in on Ginger and Matt. By the way, that whatever, Matt, who cares? His last name's probably fucking Bella.
Yeah, for sure.
But
it's an apt name for that character if it's Matt fucking Vella.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is where we see both. I will say props off to her boyfriend Matt though, because he fucking gives Terminator like that bull rush charge on the ground. It's like, good for you, man. You're gonna die, but good for you, man. It's like, that's great.
You better watch out, Mr. Universe.
Yeah, right.
He's like,
take that, Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah. But yeah, this is he kills Ginger and Matt, and we get the voice message from Sarah, so he figures out that Sarah is absolutely not dead, and I think he sees the picture of her ID and puts two and two together. This is obviously not her, and goes to find her because I think she says that she's at Tech Noir. I think
she does. Yeah.
Okay,
because she's asking them to pick her up because someone's following her.
If he's there, definitely don't tell him I'm at Tech Noir. This is the address.
I'll be wearing a nice pair of heels and a very simple top. It's very casual
near the back.
Yeah,
and it's funny when you think about it because that's not once but twice in this film. The Terminator finds Sarah Connor because she called her house and he was eavesdropping. Pretty much,
right?
It happens again later on. So
it happens in T2 as well, man. That's a big thing.
Yeah. Like, I guess if a Terminator's after you, just don't use a fucking phone.
Yeah, in this day and age, they wouldn't have heard a voicemail on an answering machine.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, like,
you'd
you
have
really
just heard her
could
phone going off in her pocket, and he'd have been like, whatever, and left.
That's crazy when you think about it. If they were to make a modern remake of this film, and I guess the Terminator would be played by Dwayne Johnson, and Sarah Connor would probably be played by, like, Jennifer Lawrence or something.
Like Olivia Munn.
Or something, yeah. But, like, they would have to change so many plot points because a lot of the stuff, like, is irrelevant now. Like, a lot of this stuff doesn't exist now. It's, like, it's very a product of its time. And, like, it's funny because it's, like, the technology is sort of almost working against them, but, like, that technology isn't around now. So they'd have to find new ways for this stuff to work. I guess now the Terminator, if they did it now, he would just be, like, synced into the cloud and he'd just, like, follow their GPS and Google Maps or something.
Right.
Or someone would deliver an Amazon Prime package and the note on there would be like, my dress for Neo Noir tonight at 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. He's like,
Or she orders a pizza via Uber Eats and like the pizza man shows up and he's got the pizza man outfit, but you scroll up and it's Schwarzenegger. And he's like, I have your pizza. Extra cheese.
Or like that was her Tinder date. So he knocks on the door and he's like, hey, we still going to Neo Noir?
Swipes yes on Terminator.
You don't look like your profile picture.
Just get a text from the Terminator. You up?
Did you cut your hair?
Oh my god.
Yeah, this we see Sarah, she can't reach her roommate. She tries to call the detectives. The detectives tell her to stay put. You're in a crowded area. He won't come for you there. And he definitely won't be this large lurking dude with a pedophile haircut walking through the crowd. But yeah, so she decides to stay put, and this is where she sees Kyle Reese. She sees he's kind of looking at her, and God, if it had been a snake, it would have bit her, man. Like, not even until the last second does she see Arnold, like, literally cocking back the fucking gun. Like, and then she's like, in shock. She's like, huh? Like, he's like, like the red dot on her head about to kill her. And then thankfully our boy Kyle Reese pops up and drops like 7 shots into him, dude. And within seconds, he's like back up. I was like, holy shit.
This is such a great action scene. And this is like one of the best in the film, I'd say, like performances from Schwarzenegger and acting like robotic. Because the way he just walks forward and stuff, and like he just doesn't let go of the gun and just constantly like looking at his target. It's so like, this is what makes the Terminator,
Right, yeah. Apparently he was very unskilled with firearms before this, and actually I think it was the NRA. They always like bash movies about how awful their gunplay is, and they actually came out and were like, no, Arnold does it really well. Like, he does a great job about it. And
well,
I'm like, holy shit.
He worked with guns for like a month straight to prepare for this role.
Yeah.
But which is, I don't know, here's the thing also, when you look at like the behind the scenes stuff, like the trivia, especially like IMDb, a lot of it contradicts each other because like you'll see like, oh yeah, he spent like a month preparing for the role. Then you see other things where he literally calls it a shit film that he's just doing to help pay the bills.
Right, yeah.
But then you also hear stuff like the studio had all these other potential people to cast as the Terminator, but they actually put their production on hold for like months for him to finish Conan the Barbarian. So on Conan the Destroyer, whatever the film was, so he could do this one. And like, I keep hearing these contradicting things. Like, it seems like James Cameron really wanted him, but Arnold wasn't that keen. But this ended up being the film that pretty much launched him into superstardom. So obviously he likes it now, but like, that's the thing with filmmaking. It's like, you don't really know if it's good or not until it's finished. Like, it can look amazing on paper, and it could be a complete piece of shit, or it could,
Right,
or it
yeah.
could be, or sometimes the vision doesn't come across on paper. Like it really comes down to like who's working on it and like how it's executed. Like there's so many films you can actually that everyone thinks is shit that you could defend. 'Cause it's like, well, would you sign up for this movie? It's got this director, it's got this cast, it's got this person. Of course the movie will be great, but sometimes that's not the case.
Right. Yeah, I love this. I mean, obviously the whole exchange with their gunfire here is awesome, but when he finally shoots Arnold through the front of it, goes through the glass and stuff, I was like, God, that looks so fucking good.
Dude, the 80s loved smashing glass. And even the 90s.
Yeah, dude.
Like, when I think about it now, that's not a lot of that. I miss seeing glass being shattered on screen.
Yeah, I was going to say that's even like a big thing in T2 when he's in the arcade or he's fighting T-1000. T-1000 like puts him through a wall or puts him through glass exactly like this, like right when we first see him kind of engage with weapons. I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, have either of you guys seen the film? It's an old one. I think it's also from the 80s or late 70s. I think it's like early 80s. It's called Police Story, starring Jackie Chan.
Yeah. But I know what you're talking about.
So that film is like one of his best. It's like all the crazy stunts, but there's this amazing mall chase scene, and they just smash everything. Like it's like pretty much 5 minutes of smashing glass montage, throwing people through glass objects and shit. And it ends.
Are you talking about that's when he's sliding down the line that has all the lights on it, and he goes through? So that
was his most dangerous
documentary about him. I'm like, sorry, I'm like obsessed with him, and he's got a documentary on like how that's his most like dangerous stunt and how many bones he broke, and like when he did that on that one take, he kept running until the scene was done, but when they finished, he kind of like just totally injured.
Because he got electrocuted the whole time. They didn't have enough power outlets to put it into like a petrol filled thing, so they had to plug into a real like power socket. So he got electrocuted to that whole take. Anyways, it's another film. We should definitely cover that one day.
I'll do that with you.
Fuck yeah, okay, it's a done deal, bro. But yeah, Terminator gets up after John Connor does the whole "come with me if you want to live," which is kind of like, you know, Star Wars does. I have a bad feeling about this. Like they do that line in every film, along with "I'll be back." So that's a catchphrase. They chase each other, and they're on the run.
Yeah, hell yeah. I love this because, you know, as they're driving around, you know, Kyle's trying to explain to her exactly what's going on. You know, hey, dude, not the best time. Really not the best time for this conversation. Like, because it's so funny. He's like, you know, she's like, what is that thing that's after me? Who is that guy? It's not a man. He's a cyborg, Cyberdyne Systems Model 101. And I love, there's one part he's like, hey, hold on real quick. And he literally, he's like, hold on a sec. Like he says something in the middle of talking and like cuts this sharp ass turn, or there's like a cop behind him or something. Like he's like, hey, hold on real quick. Like
the slow-mo shot of Schwarzenegger like on the roof of the car. The bonnet of the car. And he punching into the
windshield. Yeah.
Holy shit. What a moment.
Yeah, that looks fucking great, man. I love him trying to explain this. These are some of my favorite parts in movies like these, like trying to get the non-believer to believe you. You know, even if it's even if it's something that it's something that's so ridiculous and something that could absolutely never happen, like trying to convince someone for the sake of their life and everybody else, you know, this is what's happening. You know, but yeah, they get chased down by some cops, they lose them. And for lack of breaking this entire thing down, this is where, you know, Kyle Reese is like, yes, like, you know, he's not a man, he's a machine. They call him a Terminator. You know, living, what is it? A metal chassis covered with living human tissue. They also call it like the T-18, some stuff like that, or I don't know why it says the Cyberdyne Model 101. I was like, I guess this is like the first infiltrator unit or something that they've done. I'm not sure.
It's not the first, because they do mention later the older model had rubber skin. So I don't know, but I'll tell you what, what I've noticed in this scene. You don't see it much in this scene, but from this scene onwards, I started noticing it. On the right side of John Connor's face, on like near his chin, in between like his like chin and his bottom lip, there's like a little scar. And it
are you talking about Kyle Reese?
Yeah, Kyle Reese. He's got a scar there, right? And
yeah,
It looks like just a piece of lettuce that he just left on his face from like eating a sandwich. And I can't not look at it. So for the rest of this film, and you'll notice it too throughout time, this scar, just imagine it's like a piece of lettuce that came off like his, I don't know, KFC Zinger burger or something.
They're like, Michael, wipe your mouth, you goddamn vegan.
I can't get over that, man. But it's such a great car chase, man.
Yeah, it's great. And like I said, this is where he just lays it all out. It can't be destroyed. It can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear. And it will absolutely not stop until you are dead. And I was like, holy shit. And this is where she finds out that Kyle Reese is actually human. Like, she's like, oh, you're human. Like when she bites the fuck out of him, and he's like, yeah, I do feel pain. He's like, but I don't have time for that shit right now.
Yeah, that's such a great scene. And it's like, she's still trying to battle with, is he telling the truth or not? Like, obviously she's in disbelief, but it's such a great way of doing it. And I can't stop looking at the scar on his lip.
It'd be funny if, like, the way that she validated if he was human or not, if she was like, pick all the images that have a bus in it.
I hate those goddamn
Please
things.
Please type in this capture line. Like, you know what?
If you can't see the text, press a button and we will play the audio.
Yes.
Audio for you.
Imagine that's the way they beat the Terminator. Like, he can't like log into a website.
He's like, God, the letters are case sensitive. Jesus.
I posted that picture of that I'd seen on something like Imager a long time ago, where it was him looking through the phone book and her name, Sarah Connor, is captured in a way where you can't read it normally. And it's him just squinting, trying to understand it.
So great.
And it's like the end.
But also in this scene, a slight flaw that should be pointed out. He refers to the Terminator as a cyborg. That is incorrect because a cyborg has to have like living organism, like parts of it that need to like, be treated like a human to survive. But he's simply just a robot with skin over the top. So that doesn't qualify him for the definition of cyborg.
Turn the movie off.
Yeah. However, if you want to double nerd it, and actually me further, apparently there was an original scene they were going to include or something, or a fact. No, sorry. In the original draft, there was a part where it was like the Terminator had to eat food every like 24 hours or something, so the skin could stay like alive and organic. But they took it out.
Thank God they cut that out.
But they took it out. But here's a fun fact. In Terminator 3, they made a scene. Apparently, they were doing a scene where to pay tribute to that, and they were going to bring that fact back up. And as like an Easter egg, Arnold's favorite Austrian candy bar, he was going to eat that. And like they were going to explain later on, he needs to do that to keep his skin like human and stuff. But when the fans found out about that, they revolted. There was like a whole lot of negative like talk on the internet about it or whatever. And so they decided to take that out of the film. I don't know if they ever shot it or not, but they almost included that in Terminator 3, but it originated from this film.
Thank God they cut that out, though. Jesus.
Yeah, he seems cooler when he's like more robotic. Like all that humanized stuff, it makes it less scary.
Yeah. Well, which yes,
I'll take a McGriddle.
Yeah. He's like,
that'd be a great way for product
McChicken.
placement, right? He's got the McRib or whatever.
Yeah.
Yum.
But yeah, basically,
Thank you, McRib, please. It's only available for the next 2 weeks for only $9.99. Thank you. You have excellent service.
Please ring the bell.
I'll be back for more McRib.
This Coke is refreshing. Thank you. Gulp, 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 gulp.
You know what's crazy is it's supposed to be the whole line. I'll be back. I'll be back. You know what? It originally is I'll come back. But I guess it was something about the way that he pronounced it or something. But Schwarzenegger was just like, it's easier to say I'll be back.
No. It was I think it was Schwarzenegger or someone was like, it's more robotic if he doesn't use contractions. So I'll be back. It's more robotic than I'll be back. Thinking, I can't remember who said it, but like the contraction of I'll is more humanized. It's almost like slang in a way. But apparently it went down to like James Cameron's like, I don't tell you how to act, so don't tell me how to write or something like that.
Yeah.
So
right. It was something that he wanted to cut out. Yeah. The I'll be I'll be back or I'll come back, which they ended up keeping. But he said, yeah, using a contraction is just weird. But I'm like, dude, that actually makes more sense as a machine. You want to perform a function the simplest way. Like, you're not going to sit there and like that sounds like something on paper a machine would do, but when you get into it, it's like, no, that doesn't really sound like something a machine would do. Like, I don't know. Either way, it's such a small thing. Oh my God, we got to get off this thing.
Yeah. Let's move forward. So are those shots of like the police cars like coming by and like looking at the car as they come by and stuff? Pretty cool.
Right. Yeah. Basically,
they've
like ditched their old car, getting a new car, and this is where the Terminator hears about them from the other police scanner because they found the car in a parking garage. So he heads over there and kind of chases them down, and then another chase scene ensues, which is great. Just ends with the T1 fucking smashing head first into that fucking wall. It's like, oh God, that's fucking rough. But yeah, Sarah and Kyle are arrested and the Terminator just fucking makes off, which is crazy. I mean, nobody saw that dude running from the scene. That fucking guy with no eyebrows, fucking 6'9", just fucking like, oh, hey, I'm looking for a guy. He looks like the Thing if he didn't turn all orange and clay like and shit. Like, anybody seen him?
Sarah and the other guy, and they were like, we saw you run a stop sign back there. We're after to arrest you. Oh God, there's another car that hit the wall right there. Going in it.
You mentioned his eyebrows. So like from that, I didn't even notice this in the film, but he starts off with eyebrows, and then after an explosion, his eyebrows get burnt off. And what they did is Schwarzenegger actually had his eyebrows insured in case they wouldn't grow back. As a thing, because they full shaved it off for that.
You are motherfucking filled with the trivia spirit tonight, my friend.
Bro, I did my fucking research, all right?
You did. I picked this shit.
I didn't fucking shit. I don't fuck around, okay? I go all in, motherfucker. That's how I do this.
That's fucking awesome, dude. But yeah, this is where we get Sarah at the police precinct. They tell her that Ginger and her roommate are dead, and basically that Kyle Reese is probably crazy as a shithouse rat. This is where we're also introduced to Dr. Peter Silberman. This guy he's in T1, T2, T3. He's in all of them. He's
sorry, I have to correct myself from earlier, because I looked this up a bit earlier. I said that no other characters other than like Sarah and like they never bring back an actor very much, but no, this guy's cameos who actually is kind of a cameo in 3, but he's a legit character in 2. I don't understand how he doesn't know about the Terminator. Like, he's a denier in like the second one and the third, and it makes no sense to me after all this shit goes down. But I also
he's not in. I don't think he's in the police precinct when they start shooting it up. He's not in there.
He would have. This is part of his case. Like, he was like, I can make a career out of this guy, and then what this guy says actually happened, and to the police station, like, there's no way he wouldn't have known. So,
well, like, are there any witnesses though? Like, you kill 30 fucking cops. Like, there's nobody else.
Would have been on the news, right? He'd have been like, "Damn, I just left that like 10 minutes beforehand."
Yeah, he could have put 2 and 2 together. Like,
he's probably walking through the parking lot, puts one foot in the car, and he sees him drive through the police precinct. He's like, you know what? It's fucking Friday. I'll be back here on Monday, and he just gets in the car and drives off.
You know what, man? It's like there's like climate change deniers. Like, all the evidence is in front of him, and they're like, well, I'm going to choose not to believe that, you know?
Right, yeah. Even though it's like so lethally bad for him. Like, dude, this thing is literally eating through a concrete wall to come fucking kill us right now. He's like, yeah, but I mean, that could be all kinds of things doing that.
Like you said earlier, one foot's in his car and he sees him drive through the precinct, and he's like, that could be a different precinct.
It doesn't prove he's a robot. He couldn't have been on.
He's a robot.
The way they try and justify it. I was hopped up in PCP. He was I was like, come on, man.
Right, yeah,
they
dude.
drive
it's like,
cars through precinct entrances all the time.
Yeah,
also,
I mean, fuck.
Talking about the Silverman character. Let's talk about his introduction. His first line is him yawning and speaking at the same time. He's like,
dude.
Criminal psychologist.
They called him at 2 a.m. probably to come in and do this, right?
Yeah.
3 a.m. maybe at this point.
I don't know. Like, I always wondered like why they made him yawn for that line. I feel
like it's because they woke him up, because it's like, in the beginning of this, they say it's 1:52 a.m. and this has all happened pretty linearly.
You're probably right.
I think so, and I think also at the same time it's a great indicator of how little he gives a fuck about Sarah and her situation. He never offers any condolences. He doesn't say anything about it. Like, Lance Henriksen and the sergeant, they're both like, hey, we're really sorry. Why don't you stretch out on the couch? We'll show you. They're trying to put her mind at ease about how this guy could have possibly survived this. And Silverman's like, I'm gonna make a career off this fucking guy. It's like, dude, what a fucking
keep playing even
asshat.
when he's like talking about how he's gonna come and murder her. He's like, can you pause the tape?
Yeah, he's like, hey, dude,
unprofessional to have the victim see that tape, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's like, I get it for the sake of the movie, but like, it'd be so funny if she's like, hey, can you turn that off? And he's like over there rubbing a boner. He's like, oh, what? He's like, sorry.
My career. So these next few scenes, it's like intercutting in between the super iconic scene of him like doing surgery on his robotic arm, and also the precinct. With this scene, apparently this is like one of the hardest scenes to film because he filmed for an entire day with one of his arms tied behind his back because that is a fake arm. Also, later on when he starts working on his eye, we got to mention this. It's clearly not him. Every time, like, it's like I can't tell if it's animatronic or a wax dummy. But it's definitely not a real thing. And I think that's why they put the glasses on him to hide the fake eye.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. 6 months to make that thing. Yeah. 6 months to make that head. And I was like, no, don't get me wrong. Again, dude, I get it. This is 1984. But motherfucker, 2 years before this, we had Blade Runner, E.T., and The Thing. I was like, so I get it. It's a small budget. It's only $6 million. But man.
Arnold, can't you just cut into your real eye?
Yeah, right. And dude, I hate to do I don't.
So to hide it, he wears the sunglasses, right? And so whenever he's wearing sunglasses, it's the real Schwarzenegger. When he takes it off, most of the time it's a dummy. However, there are shots where it's him with makeup on the eye. I don't get why they just didn't have him with makeup on the whole time.
Makes sense.
It would have been a lot easier, I imagine, but who knows? Apparently, though, there was a moment during shooting where he left set to go get lunch at like some like local cafe. And people were looking at him weird, and then he realized he was still in full makeup with his eye gouged out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Just like, hey, you gonna eat that? But
I love this scene of Silverman talking to Kyle and how Kyle is so open with telling him everything. And the guy's just like trying to like find holes in his story, but he always has an answer. It's like, wow, so year 2027, like, don't you have like ray guns and stuff like that? Like, I actually do love these interactions between Kyle and Silverman. Hey,
yeah, it's great because we're definitely given some exposition we're given exposition where we finally, I loosely say like deserve it, because so far we've been like, okay, what the fuck is going on with this big dude and what's going on with this little dude, and like, why are they both after this chick and blah blah blah. So finally, when he's in the car, he kind of has to lay it out right there. There's not really another way to do it because it's fucking complicated, man. It's a complicated. Hey, we're both from the future. He's part of one faction. I'm part of another. Your son is the leader of all of mankind, and we both want him for different reasons and blah, blah, blah. But he's not here yet, so we're here to get you.
The genius of this scene is it's a great way to get exposition, but they don't do it. They don't start off with it, so it's not boring. And what they're doing is answering questions, and they do it in a way where it doesn't feel like forced. It feels very natural. And it's also a great opportunity for James Cameron to like find ways to fill any plot holes. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is like one of the latest scenes they filmed, because then that way if anyone was like, well, what about this? And like, all right, we'll come with a line of dialogue for this scene later on. Like,
right, yeah, exactly. Like why they can't bring back inorganic material. That's why they cover the Terminator in it, and they even say, I think he even says it might not be in this scene, but it might be earlier on where he's talking to Sarah and he's like, we were basically going to win. Like we were right. We destroyed like their defense grid or something like that he says. And
I hate to keep bringing up a film that everyone hates, but in Terminator Genesis, the opening of that film is them about to win. And then they send back Schwarzenegger back in time. And they have this like debate, and then they decide to send Kyle Reese back, and then they blow the whole place and destroy it. So like they can never send someone back. Yeah, and so that's sort of like explains like, so like I said, that movie it's weirdly, it's kind of like the new Halloween in a way. It's almost like a direct sequel to this one.
That's smart though. They needed to ignore anything after like 2, honestly.
Yeah. That's kind of like what they did, but the movie just introduces a whole bunch of new stuff, which causes problems as well.
Right.
But yeah, right before he puts in the sunglasses, with Schwarzenegger, every time they cut from the real guy to the dummy, I can't unnotice it, even though it's his real hand. It's his real hand, but the dummy face.
Yeah, it's still kind of silly.
And yeah,
it's just hard to get over.
You've got more of the disbelief between the cops and all that. And then what is the next scene?
Well, I was going to say, how do you guys feel about taking a break right here? Because we're just about to jump into the police shooting, and that is a huge scene in this movie. So I need to grab something to drink, use the restroom. You guys down for that? Is that cool?
That is totally cool.
All right, guys, we will be right back.
In the 21st century, a weapon will be invented like no other. This weapon will be powerful, versatile, and indestructible. It can't be reasoned with. It can't be bargained with. It will feel no pity, no remorse, no pain, no fear. It will have only one purpose: to return to the present and prevent the future. This weapon will be called the Terminator.
You're dead, honey.
What day is it? The date?
12th May, Thursday.
What year? I'm here to help you. I'm Reese, DN 38416, assigned to protect you. You've been targeted for termination.
Why does it want me? Why me?
Arnold Schwarzenegger is the Terminator. Your future is in its hands.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back. We are freshly squeezed, as Zoheb likes to say. I couldn't go without saying that, of course. It's gonna be our new motto. But either way,
I always squint my eyes when I hear him say that. I squint. I'm like,
He's like just a big sponge. He just goes in there and.
If we ever get to the point of like making like merch, like that'll be a shirt. Sure.
Yeah, freshly squeezed.
freshly squeezed.
That's also our spin-off podcast, freshly squeezed. It's a podcast all about squeezing the most you can out of life.
Yeah, it's covering pornographic film.
That too.
But,
oh my god.
But yeah, we're back. We're here talking about Terminator. We are at one of the most infamous scenes of this movie, of the infamous cop the shoot up scene in the police precinct. I fucking love the scene. I think this is great. Him coming up to the thing, asking for Sarah Connor. I'm a friend of hers. Telling her, well, take a seat because it's going to be a fucking minute. And he just scans around the whole kind of location and just drops the infamous line now, I'll be back. Which, like we said originally, I think was supposed to be like, I'll come back or whatever, but they changed it for whatever reason.
I also just love how Dr. Silverman walks past the Terminator to start the scene off. Like,
yeah,
he's denied him, and he literally walks past him.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, you have no idea how close you were to being I don't even, I was going to say quadruple murder, but I don't even know what kind of murder you call this at this point. Like, fucking genocide.
It's
we're
so
gonna have to
badass,
criticize
man.
Sergeant Wright right here, who's the desk sergeant, who doesn't get suspicious at all that somebody walks in and asks about Sarah Connor, considering all the shit that's been going down tonight. Wouldn't he look up and be like, I'll be right back.
That's actually a good point.
And then he's like, "Is Sarah Connor back there?" And he's like, "No one's allowed to see her." Like, who would reveal that fucking information?
Yeah. He's like, well, why don't you wait here? I'll go get 29 other cops, and I'm sure we'll be able to stop you.
So obviously the car comes through, runs him over. It's so fucking cool. This you can't get over this, man. It's so great. And
Yeah, seeing him get pinned against the wall is brutal.
yeah.
Crazy.
And what's crazy with this scene is, so earlier on he said there's 30 cops in this building. Apparently, according to some trivia I read, he fires off 30 shots in this scene. So presumably he shoots 30 cops as well.
Right, yeah. If you pay attention to like the burst fire and like all the shooting off screen and stuff like that, as well as on screen, like it's basically around 30 cops. Like, holy shit, they weren't kidding.
Now, are you guys aware of many deleted scenes from this movie?
No, not really.
So there is a kind of a cool deleted scene from this scene where when Kyle Reese finally gets free, he comes up to the police captain who's like dying, but he's not dead yet. And he's with Sarah Connor and he looks at Kyle. He's like, pretty much this is his moment of like, I believe you. He's like, you must protect her no matter what. And he gives Kyle his gun. And so the gun he has throughout the film, like shooting people, like for the next scene, like that's actually the captain's gun. So he does.
Yeah.
So he does get a little moment of like, you know, people believe in him and stuff, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, it just sucks 30 people had to fucking die. Or like
Yeah.
33 or 35 people had to die before somebody finally bought the story. But hey, that's life.
It's such a cool scene of him just gunning all these cops down, man.
Well, dude, just him fucking shooting that shotgun with one arm. I'm like, dude, that's fucking crazy. Like, I probably couldn't shoot that thing with two hands, dude. I'd fucking I'd break my fucking collarbone.
This is like the golden eye stance to me, where you're seeing somebody walk with two weapons and they're held perfectly out in front of them, like motionless. Like it's too robotic.
I mean,
I love how he takes a few bullets and he like steps back, pulls out the shotgun and blows the fuck away out of that other guy, man. It's so cool.
Yeah,
no
absolutely.
One makes it out of this.
But yeah, just absolutely annihilates this place, you know, and he's like tactical, man, goes in and like cuts all the power and shit, like wants to cause chaos, like wants to be, you know, I mean, not that he even really needs to do it. It just adds to it. But I mean, it's just something that fucks them up even more. You know, I think that's great because, you know, he's just hunting in the dark. He has no problem. He's like, oh, cool. Let me put on my infrared scopes real quick and just like find people in the dark. Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, Terminator just annihilates these fucking guys. My boy Lance Henriksen gets killed. Oh God.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. I mean, props to him though. He's just hey, and he just turns around and fucking lights him up. I'm like, dude, this guy just killed like 30 other people in this room. Go hide somewhere. No one's gonna be mad at you if you fucking hide at this point. Like, no one's gonna be pissed.
People with the name in the credits always think that they're the exception.
Yeah. But yeah, I think this is one of the most iconic scenes like of this movie, except for really him like being stripped down to the metal, you know, like T-800 at the end. Like this is like one of the huge fucking scene, especially going in a police precinct and just killing everyone. Like, not only would that be really hard to get away with today, just with public shootings and everything, but just walking into a police precinct, like, holy shit, like that's nuts. But yeah, he annihilates all the fucking cops. This is where Sarah and Kyle, they get the fuck out of there. And they you know, they're just hiding. They're hiding, and this is where she
in their car.
Yeah, right. They run out of gas, and I really like this scene because this is something that I think it was Orion Pictures. I read a little trivia that Orion was like, we're not going to tell you to do anything, but we have two suggestions. We'd like it if the Terminator had like a robotic dog sidekick. And he was like, absolutely not. They're like, or you can upplay the love interest between Sarah and Kyle. And he was like, okay, like that's fine. You know, that wasn't a big deal. But it's like a robotic dog companion. I was like, what the fuck? That is so dumb.
Well, tell that to the creators of was the film The Predator, which came out this year, who thought, you know what? Predators wasn't enough. We need to focus on a cute little sidekick predator dog, because that takes up so much of that fucking movie, man.
Oh God, that's fucking sad. I would never see that now.
Yeah. Zoheb loved that movie though. I thought it was okay, but yeah. With this scene too of them getting together, there's another deleted scene. I don't know if it takes place exactly here or maybe it's close to it, but it's a really great scene where Sarah, and this is going to sound very familiar to fans of Terminator 2, Sarah goes through a phone book and goes, Cyberdyne Systems, I found their address. Why don't we go there and blow them up to stop the war from ever happening? And Kyle's like, no, that's not the mission. And she has this big scene where it's like emotional and stuff, when she's like, I'm not just a mission objective, I'm a human being. And they have this like sort of argument, and then like he starts crying, explaining like how hard his life was and stuff like that. Now they cut that out, but this scene's still here. And it kind of expands more on what happens here. And it's a shame that I didn't keep that scene in, because that was a really good scene, actually.
Yeah, right. They actually do bring him back for a bunch of deleted scenes in T2, which I thought were really cool. Just of him as like a flashback. It's like when she's in the mental facility, and he literally is like a ghost to her, you know, and he's like, get on your feet, you know, blah, blah, blah. And he's dressed exactly like he was in T1. Super cool. But that's really about the only time they bring him back.
I wasn't aware of that one. Yeah.
It's in like the special edition and stuff. They just add it right into the movie too, which is fucking cool. But yeah, I like this scene. This is where they just talk about, you know, she's like, tell me about my son. Why did you volunteer to do this?
We see her growing as a character, right? You know, this ends up being her first field bandage, I guess, if you want to think of it that way.
Right, yeah. And he's like, oh, it's pretty good.
How'd you know how to do this again?
Yeah.
Crazy parties.
It's the 80s, right?
Yeah, did you see that scooter? You know it's under that seat, bitch.
But yeah, this is where I think is this where she finds out that like he can't go back? No, that's earlier in the interview with Silverman. But this is where he just talks about, you know, he's like, I'd go to hell and back for John Connor. You know, why did you volunteer? He's like, oh, the chance to meet a legend. You know, and this is where he just kind of lays it out. You're this badass like warrior princess of the future that teaches John Connor to do all this stuff. And she's like, what? Like, are you sure you have the right person? Like,
yeah.
And I don't
He's
blame
really
her.
cool. My friends, I'd find out if it was a wig or not.
What's really cool is like, so in this film, she's kind of like the typical final girl in a horror slasher, but like then in T2, we actually do get to see this like warrior badass that they talk about so much in this film. It's like one of the things that's like such good fan service to pay off. Yeah.
Yeah, I like this because he kind of just gives like a little history mini thing about what's going on, that there were these these hunter killers would use infrared technology to find and kill humans, and that the new Terminators, or the infiltrators, like the one that, you know, they're running from now, appeared, and they started kind of finding where, you know, the resistance bunkers were, if you want to call them that, which is the scene that we get of Kyle kind of having like another flashback of this one just marching through this I guess a bunker, if you want to call it, for lack of a better term, and just annihilating anybody with that plasma Gatling gun. It's like, holy shit. Yeah. And a great shot too of him just like walking as he kind of blows Reese back and kills all these people. And Reese looks up, and it's just these red eyes just marching towards him with this like huge ass like Gatling gun. I was like, holy fuck.
So fun fact, the guy who plays that Terminator was actually a good friend of Arnold Schwarzenegger's and also a fellow bodybuilder. I think he was competing in Mr. Olympia or something like that.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. When I first saw it, I actually thought it was Arnold because they cover him so much shadow and stuff. But yeah.
Right, yeah. And we see Reese, you know, he drops the photo of Sarah and it gets burnt up in the fire, which is kind of big later on. You know, it's kind of a with the relationship between their two characters. It's kind of big later on.
Well, I also just love that imagery of that little girl who's like, she's got her hands around the fire, but the fire's coming from like a television, inside of a television. I always thought that was a really cool like shot.
Yeah, that is cool. Like literally like watching the fire.
I also kind of like the small parts of world building in this scene. Like you see that little kid with the rat, like it's like he's found food. And he also like, there's like a little kid who's like playing with like a toy gun. He's like, pew, pew. And then John points a real gun at the kid. He's like, pew, like playfully.
PTSD just blows him away.
Yeah, like in real life, that'd be scary as fuck.
That's
Jesus
so,
Christ,
that's so
Timmy,
funny.
we talked about this. I told you it happened.
But yeah, after we see Sarah kind of accepting the story of what's going on. Her and Kyle, end up leaving that sewer drain. Thank God too, because fucking 10 minutes later, and Pennywise is gonna come crawling out of that thing and fucking eat your asshole. But yeah, they decide to leave, and we also cut over to the Terminator. We see him kind of like recouping and figuring out what's going on. And with this is where he's flipping through the address book that he's found at Sarah's and Ginger's earlier. We find Sarah's mother's address, I believe, and that's where he's just making connections and trying to figure out like where she is.
And correct me when I'm wrong, but I believe like when he picks through his options of what to reply to the person knocking the door, fuck you, asshole. He gets that from earlier in the film, right? From like the
right.
Is it the pub?
That's what I took away. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how that's like Knights of the Old Republic choice of dialogue.
Yeah, but like you see, what's great about it is it shows like machine learning and artificial intelligence. Like he's learning as he goes along, which is like a big part of Terminator 2 with like the no problemo and hasta la vista baby. Also, here's something I want to throw out there. I could be wrong, but this is my theory. You know how there's that shot of like the janitor in the hallway of that like apartment complex? Like he knocks on the door and there's like this guy, he's like in like or maybe he's the landlord or something. He's like in a singlet and stuff. I look at that set.
Yeah, the way he lived.
I'm 100% sure it's the same place they shot Venom. Because a lot of that movie's in this apartment complex.
God.
I swear to God, it's the same one.
How does this manage to work its way into every episode?
It's a culturally relevant movie.
Oh my God.
I swear to God, it's the same location. I'm telling you, it's the same location.
Is feeling this.
I don't give a fuck what he has to say. Fuck that motherfucker. I'm telling you, it's relevant for this topic. I'm going to get a side-by-side comparison of images. I'll post them in the after party group, and you tell me it does not look the fucking same. It's the same location, I'm telling you.
There's never been another movie where they filmed in an upstairs New York or LA apartment hallway. Never.
No, this is the only two films.
It looks just like Venom.
That's fucking great.
Oh my God.
But it's always Venom and the fucking Meg, man. Every fucking goddamn time.
I'm telling you guys, we need to fund a Meg versus Venom movie, okay? It'll be the ultimate extravaganza.
All right. So where are we at in this right now?
I'm at 114. That is the Venom shot.
Yeah, that's the shot. We see Eddie Brock in the background fighting Peter Parker. But yeah, we see, basically the Terminator gets a hold of this address book. He finds out where Sarah's mother is. We see Sarah and Kyle checking into the hotel. Hey, can we get a room?
Yeah, a little rude. What do you guys need? We need a room. You're going to be like, hey, manners. Look, no one's after you.
So aggressive. Like these two just want to fuck, you know?
Yeah, right.
They ain't playing around.
Right. She's like, oh, we need a room with a kitchen. And just like I wonder, I've never had a hotel room that had like a fucking kitchen in it, maybe like a sink or something like that. But I was like, damn, where the fuck are these hotels?
I did a business trip earlier this year. I think over the winter, the beginning of this year's winter. And yeah, I stayed in a place that looked like it was an apartment complex they converted to like an inn. And it had a kitchen in there. I had a full kitchen and everything. It was weird.
Wake up, there's like some portly British woman cooking you breakfast. Like, that's nice.
Yeah, in Texas. That would have made sense.
I don't want to nitpick here. Actually, I do want to nitpick here. It's always fun to nitpick. First of all, like, I thought they were going to, this is going to mean something for later. It doesn't. He just wanted a kitchen. But also,
I think to make the bombs, right? Isn't it to make the bombs?
Kitchen in this hotel. Oh, what?
Okay, yeah, good point.
I think it's to make the bombs because he needs like running water and like something to heat it up and shit.
Okay.
Which he's a fucking hypocrite about because he's like, you need to be real fucking gentle. And then later in the scene, he gets a little antsy and he shoves those things into that Nike bag. Yeah. I'm sure it's a Nike bag. I don't know if it is or not, but it probably is.
He's like fucking juggling them.
Take my job, and he's like shoving them in there. And I was like, calm down.
When I hear things like kitchen and stuff, it makes me think like, so Kyle Reese, he grew up in the war before like everything was like how it is and stuff. I actually wonder, like, how much of this stuff did he not know exist? Like, you know, he's never seen grass before, I assume. But, like, has he ever driven a car before this movie? Because he can drive a car pretty well, but you don't see any cars in the future, you know?
He sees toilet paper when he uses this time bathroom, and he's like, "Oh man, what a good idea!"
Well, no, the cars thing, because I thought that too at first, but we see them in the back with the Gatlin laser shooting at the HKs in the cars, but still, like the only car that we ever see at all, you know. I think this would be funny if we see like Sarah and Kyle's relationship, and she's like, "Hey, you want to go to Taco Bell?" He's like, "Back in my time, we never had a taco." But she's like, "Yes, I fucking know. I hear this every time we do literally fucking anything." Like, yes, I get it. God, thank God you're handsome.
Imagine that. Imagine that. Like, it's literally everything. All right. Okay. Now oh, no. Okay. He's driving. Cops pull him over. You were doing like 40 you were doing 50 in a 40 zone. Back in my time, we didn't have speed limits or police.
Right. He's like, what time is that? Well, to get there, we'd have to go back to the future. But yeah, this is where we see, he gets
Reese awkwardly turning his neck to the left, like 160 fucking degrees to talk to her for like 5 minutes. I hurt my neck watching him talk like that.
But yeah, he's going out to make pipe bombs. We see that the Terminator now he's just going out to get a vegan wrap. The Terminator is at Sarah's mother's house. I assume that it's killed her mother. By the way, I don't see any body, but it's just pretty safe to assume she's not home. She's fucking dead. But the Terminator disguises his voice. Gets the information of where she's at, which is just, I love this because this is something that, again, that gets played on later, especially, I mean, even in like T2 and stuff, because they're infiltrator units, he could just, he could literally just do a one-man army of just like shooting up the entire city, but he's like, no, I need to figure out where they are. Like, I need to kind of sneak my way in and use this to my advantage. Like, I like that. Excuse me. But yeah, and I really like that a lot. I just think that's such a cool aspect of it, of even just him being this gigantic, indestructible, brooding like menace that you just can't stop. He's also cunning and smart, and like, why would I'm a machine. Like, yeah, I can use brute muscle, but I can just get on the phone and figure it out and figure out where you are. Like, God, that is
cunning. Cunning's a good word.
It's also just creepy, and it's also the second time in this movie the Terminator finds Sarah because she fucking told him, pretty much.
Imagine if she had a Facebook.
Hey guys, I'm staying in an inn because a killer robot is after me.
Yeah, marked safe during the robot apocalypse.
And it's just,
hashtag real heavy metal ladies.
The T800 likes this post.
Yeah, right.
That's right.
Shit, gotta move again.
Sarah changed her profile picture. It's like the red, white, and blue like thing over her picture.
The filter, the color filter.
Yeah, I'm sending likes and support. But yeah, Kyle comes back. We get this great scene between Sarah and Kyle where Kyle just, flat out, he's like, yeah, I'm in love with you. I've always loved you. John gave me your picture. And, there's, I guess, in a weird way, because Sarah's like, are there any women in your time? He's like, no. Basically, he says, I assume he's a virgin. Is that what I'm getting from it? Like,
he's always trying to figure out. Hey.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, and I don't know if she's, if this is something she's actually like romantically interested in or what. I really have no idea. But either way, this is just where, he just kind of lays it all out and, says that he's in love with her and he's always loved her. And just basically in a world full of nothing, he at least had this one picture of her, and he kind of like, I don't want to say obsessed, but made that picture just like his world. And I actually kind of like that. I think that's awesome.
I think there is a woman in one scene. She gets vaporized. It's one of his first flashbacks.
There are a few women.
I think it's a woman.
There are a few women in the future, but I guess she's the only clean woman he's ever seen.
Right, yeah. And
I've never seen a woman with bangs like that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well,
the Terminator.
Well, also, like, she, I think that he's just like built her up so much in his mind. Like he has no idea who she is. He's never met her before. Like I think it'd be so funny if he's like, I love you, Sarah, you know, blah, blah, blah. And she could just not give a fuck. Like if Ginger was the mom of John Connor and he gets there and he's like, oh God, what have I done?
Yeah, modern times, it's like seen at 10:06 p.m.
But yeah, we get this, and yeah, they make sweet, 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 passionate love, which is weird. It's just weird because he's like so like naive to the whole situation, like, and it goes so smoothly for a guy who's never gotten any before. Really weird. Like,
well, there's a
like,
chance he might have had sex before, but he's probably not had one in a bed.
Can you imagine the future STDs this guy has? Like the dirty STDs he has. She's like,
oh, that wasn't my first thought.
Sarah, I hate to tell you, but you have robot syphilis.
Yeah,
what's that?
Yeah, we came back and saved the future of the resistance, but he gave me super AIDS. It was terrible. It was fucking awful.
God.
This is really advanced strain of AIDS.
On that same line of jokes, whenever I see like they're in the car and they turn around and they see how almost like the footage is sped up of the motorcycle coming towards them real fast. I almost wanted her to be like, he's coming faster than you are. Like,
oh, that's fucking great. And obviously not to go over the fact that, you know, their little lovemaking session obviously results in the consummation and the conception of John Connor, that's a whole other bucket of bolts. You guys want to get into that? Go crazy. We'll talk about it in the comments or something.
He's his best friend's dad from the
something like
future,
that.
But the past.
Right, and it just doesn't. I don't know. No, I'm not. I can't do it because I'll fucking sit here. No, God, no, you're not doing that to me, Vela. No, I'm just kidding. I could go down this rabbit hole because shit like this and Looper and movies like that, man, I fucking fall down that rabbit hole and I can't. But either way, yeah, this is you know, they consummate their relationship, if you want to call it that, even though they know each other for about 12 hours. But this is where the Terminator shows up and he busts in, you know, trying to blast them. And they end up escaping. You know, this is another great scene. This is where a lot of this, like, how do you film this without a fucking permit, man? That's crazy. That is fucking crazy. Like, I assume most of this is without a permit. Some of it, I am again assuming has to be, you know, like at some point, like, yeah, but
this is just normal LA. So anybody would have just been like, whatever.
Yeah. Right. Just a guy throwing pipe bombs and doing it on a motorcycle.
Oh no, that would have been with a permit for sure. Like, there's no way they could have closed that street off and stuff. Like,
that's what I'm saying, dude. Like, you know way better than either of us. But I was just like, dude, I'm pretty fucking sure you're gonna have to have a permit for that. Like, there's no way.
I reckon the permit stuff was just like small things, like them on the street and stuff. Like this, they would have had to close off like an entire road. Like, this is crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
So the way they shot this though is a lot of the time they actually drove at normal speed and they sped it up in post.
Yeah, you can tell a few times.
I hate the way that looks, man. Like,
yeah.
I just do it. And you know who's most guilty of it? Fucking George Miller. George Miller does that shit in Mad Max so much, man. Like, and so much more in Fury Road. Dude, oh my God.
I do remember, I think it was the first or second one I noticed that a lot in.
Dude, it's all over fucking Fury Road. It's like, oh my God, great movie, but God, I hate those parts.
Yeah.
So is the next part not like? Are you done? By the way, sorry.
Oh no, I fucking guessed. No, I'm just kidding.
Is the next part not crazy where he gets run over by that diesel for like 30 goddamn years?
It like drags him from like First Street to 42nd. He's like, I think we hit a bump.
John Connor is born by the time he gets done getting run over.
Damn.
Oh God.
It is such a cool scene
funny.
though. Hey.
It's like dun.
Dude, they drag his ass. Well, I also don't want to go past, you know, as Kyle's throwing the pipe bombs, Terminator actually pops one off and fucking shoots Kyle, and like, God, it looks like just right in the fucking gut, man. It's like, ooh, that's a bad hit.
Yeah.
Well, that's gonna leave him.
Right, yeah, but yeah, I love this. I love, you know, because what is it? The Terminator's car flip over or something like that. I can't remember. Something he gets out of the car to like kill them, and right when he gets out of the car, that fucking semi slams into him. Like, holy shit!
He crashes off of his motorcycle, and then the semi runs him over.
Right.
But then he he takes the semi because it's kind of like, it's almost like his programming, if you want to think of it that way, is like it knows that it's more dominant to be inside a vehicle, regardless maybe of how difficult it might seem to maneuver. Like a semi to maneuver probably to a Terminator probably maybe be really easy. Because at first I was like, why would you get in a semi to do anything? You could probably just kill him barehanded, but he uses it, you know, he tries to use it pretty well.
Man, this is the scene that gets me thinking about the dummy a lot, because a lot of these shots, it's actually him in prosthetics and stuff like that. And I just look at it and I just think, why don't they do this for all the shots, you know?
Right, yeah, it makes sense because it doesn't look terrible. The only thing that's odd is when he moves his human eye and the robot one just stays perfectly still. Like that's the only thing that's kind of weird. But other than that, I think it looks way better than the Dubby head that they took 6 months to make. Cause like, what the fuck?
So much.
But yeah, this is you know, another really big scene. The thing that really gives this movie kind of like the horror credentials that it deserves is this thing is just, again, nonstop. It fucking gets hit by a semi and gets right the fuck up, and he just he looks at the driver and he's like, "Get out!" And I'm like, God, you're lucky you even got that, dude.
So cool. Yeah. And then shortly after, it's literally a scene of her running away as he chases her in the truck. And that's just straight up like Jason Voorhees or something, like someone just running away. Like the way they do that's pretty cool.
Right, yeah.
I feel like if you guys remember it, I don't know if it aged well. It was funny, I think, a long time ago, but if I went back and watched it now, it might not. But I think it's called Kung Pao Enter the Fist. There's a scene in that.
That's the most quotable film of all time.
Where he's like, "Chosen one, I'm coming," and every time the camera changes back and forth, you know, he's a different distance away, and it makes no sense, right? Like he's closer. It cuts the camera, and he's like back where he originally was on the other side of the field, right? And he's just running around. That's what this kept reminding me of, because it looks like she's about to get plowed over, and then it's like 300 feet away the next time that it cuts to it. And I'm like, dude, she ran track or her waitress skills. That's how they tied this in. She's moving. It's on
Dude,
point.
I remember that movie so well, Kung Pao Enter the Fist, because I had a sleepover at my house in like 7th grade. I think you and Spencer and Aaron were there and a bunch of people. And we had
I still have that movie. I still have that same DVD.
Dude,
that is one of the most quotable films of all time. Can we please fucking cover that?
It's just so utterly fucking dumb.
I
but
love
if
it
you
so much.
kind of just accept it, it's actually really, really funny.
It was crazy because it's speaking of double features, we watched that and we watched The Ring, which were so random, but at the time they were huge. But I remember laughing my ass off and then like shitting out of it uncontrollably later watching The Ring. I was like, oh my God, this is fucking terrifying. Go home and get out of my house. But yeah, basically, they start running from the Terminator. It gets the tractor trailer. Reese, so smart, uses the time that it takes to drive that thing and the size of it to his advantage and just waits. He's like, cool, all I have to do is stand here and wait. Throw a fucking pipe bomb in the back of it.
Yeah, he jumps, he throws it in there and then jumps inside that dumpster and takes a fucking nap. She runs another 4K.
Yeah, don't tell Sarah about it. Sarah, duck what? It just like explodes. But yeah, I like that, and maybe, hey man, maybe throw the pipe a little bit farther down than that. Like you didn't really go very far with it. Like it just blows the back half off and the trailer keeps going. He's like, fuck. Like the truck just keeps going without it. He's like, God damn it.
Or like there's just nothing but fruity pebbles inside that tanker, so when it blows up, it's just so untheatrical.
It's full of corn. He's like, God damn it. There's like popcorn flying around everywhere. It's like, motherfucker.
So they actually do an incredibly great job. They do an incredibly great job of cutting that, because if you look carefully, you can tell like the truck that blows up is actually a miniature. Like, it's like, but
I love miniature work, dude. I really do.
Yeah, but the way they intercut it with like the fire with her and everything as well, and like the other stuff, it's crazy. So great. You can barely tell.
Right. It does. It looks a little odd when you watch it, but at the same time, it just seems like it's just trying to focus on her running and the truck at the same time. It doesn't look bad. It just looks a little weird because of the double focus kind of thing.
Yeah. And as much as I have you talked a lot of shit about the dummy, but I'm pretty sure that's the dummy on fire at the end. And like the way it moves is so robotic, and like that's really cool.
Oh, also, as long as we're talking about special effects, we just cannot go by the fact that Stan Winston said with special effects for this movie. We're talking about a guy that did fucking Predator, Terminator, the Monster Squad. He did, just so many fucking movies. I think he did Michael Jackson's Thriller video, did all the special effects for that. I can't even sit here and go over Stan Winston's career. I mean, Jurassic Park, the dude was a god. I mean, it's did so much awesome stuff. I didn't want to go by that because unfortunately he's not around anymore, and it always bums me out just to see everything going to digital so quickly. And I get it for budget reasons, I really do, but I long for the days of like when we get another Stan Winston who can figure out practical effects and for the same price as digital or even cheaper. Like, God, I can't wait for that day. I hope it comes. But
so fun fact about this film, what are they called? Onion or Orion or whatever the fuck they're called, the studio.
Orion.
Okay, so they were hugely difficult to work with on this film. And they wanted the movie to end after the explosion of the truck. They weren't apparently super keen on doing the expensive robot killer chasing them. And James Cameron,
what a waste that would have been.
Hell, because this is where the movie gets really scary and super iconic. These next 15 minutes or so are some of the best 15 minutes of the entire film, and arguably make the franchise.
Yeah, when you guys were saying this is the movie this week, I get sometimes a weird taste in my mouth. If you watch these old 80 films, sometimes it just feel too campy and cheesy, and you're like, ugh. So I was afraid it would be like this. When I got to this part, I was glued.
Now, there are some moments of weirdness and stuff, but this shot where he rises out of the fire with them in the foreground hugging each other, thinking they're okay, is so fucking incredible, man.
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially once they actually get into this, whatever this warehouse is, whatever the fuck it is. Like, dude, I mean, I can remember, especially I think it's in T2, when we get a little bit more of those shots of what the future looks like. And it's just the army of just these plain chassis T-800s just walking around shooting. Dude, that is fucking terrifying. Because imagine how much it would take to kill just one of these things. I mean, that's literally what we're watching the whole movie about. These motherfuckers have to deal with this in the future with hundreds of thousands of these. God damn, dude.
There's a throwaway line at the beginning where, or maybe near the beginning, when Sarah's like, "Can you kill one of these?" And he's like, "I don't know with these weapons." So I think in the future. Right. It is implied they are a little bit easier to kill because of their ray guns and stuff, but
yeah, I guess
don't
that's
know
fair.
How easy it is. I don't know. But that being said, I've got to say, man, when these first few shots of the Terminator, also, it's the first time you see the Terminator robot in this film. In Terminator 2, it's one of the first shots, but in this movie, you got to wait an hour and a half to see it. So it's meant to be a real surprise and real out there. And it fucking pays off. These first few shots are some of the best shots in the entire franchise of the robot. Because later on, they do all this CGI and stuff. But something about this realistic fire, this real life fire reflecting off this actual mechanical robot made out of real metal, by the way.
Yeah, so heavy as fuck.
It was really hard to move it. It looked great, but they said it was almost impractical. But the way it moves and looks and with the fire, it's incredible, man. And it moves because it's like a puppet at this point. It just feels so robotic the way it moves. Admittedly, with the future films, sometimes they feel less robotic in their movements because, I don't know, maybe they use motion capture of a real human or something. But the way this is moved, almost like a puppet, it is so robotic, and I love it so much.
Yeah, especially when they're, they get in there, they start climbing up the stairs, and the shot of this thing's feet climbing the stairs is man, the whole thing just looks fucking great. It looks so good.
Yeah. That being said, we do alternate between two types of Terminator movement. The first type is whenever it's more I think from the waist down, we can see the full body. It's like claymation almost, sort of very Jason Argonaut style. When it's usually I think from the waist up or just a close up of a hand or a face or something, or even
it's got to be real, right?
Then that's puppetry almost, they're them physically moving it. So
I'm on a scene right now where he's crawling, and you can definitely tell it's real, real scale. It's the same scale that they're on. It's not a set or reduced.
I love that.
So
I
I'm
love
a bit
that.
before you guys. I'm at them. They've just gotten in, but when there's a shot, for example, where it's sort of walking behind him and dragging its leg and stuff, and it's the same claymation sort of stop motion thing on loop, and they've making it bigger and bigger. So the scale is completely wrong, actually.
Well, yeah, I love that real deep pool you had of Jason and the Argonauts back there. I was like, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Or like Clash of the Titans back in the day.
Yes, yes.
But
also something to note as well. Kyle Reese turns on all the machinery to sort of distract it and like ruin its like work with its tracking and stuff.
Right.
And something I did read, whenever you see the vision of the Terminator and there's all that coding, a lot of it's just taken out of the Apple II. I think it's their startup menu or something. As just filler.
Of course, like, because we're going to learn in like 10 years, like Apple recently changed its name to Skynet Global Conglomerate. They're like, oh God, this is not fucking good.
We all know what's going to happen.
Right.
And
no wonder this thing could fucking hunt people down as easily as it could.
And honestly, I don't want to, I know I keep bringing up Terminator Genesis, and I don't want to act as if it's a great movie. It's on Venom levels of quality, but the thing with that film is what is interesting with the direction they took, which is so different to the others, is they're like, hey, what if Skynet was more like Apple? And they're like, everyone's got this thing called Genesis in their homes. It's very much about the cloud, and that's how like they take over. And like I always love that concept. It's a shame the movie's not great, but yeah. Moving back to this though. Loving this Terminator, looking around, trying to figure out what's going on. And then Sarah and John start to like fight back almost, right?
Yeah, John. Well, yeah. You keep saying John. Are you talking about Kyle?
Sorry, Kyle. I mean Kyle. I'm used to John Connor being the main character in the later film. Sorry, not Kyle.
Dude, it's so easy like to say John Connor. Like that is like the most American name. Like he sounds like he was just born out of an apple pie. Like he just came to be. But yeah, that's where Kyle starts setting up he sets up that pipe bomb. And he shoves it in the middle of it and blows it, blows half of it to smithereens, which ultimately, winds up leading to his death. And then kind of like a psych out, we think that we've killed this thing now again for the second time, but no, this is why it's called the fucking Terminator. It will not stop. It doesn't have legs. Who cares? Now, $100 says if they'd had better effects, they would have had this thing like walking around on its hands super quick, just like carrying all of its weight. Right, yeah, this thing will not fucking stop. And I think this is some of the best special effects.
Like this whole scene of like him chasing them and stuff is like, this is where it's getting that like horroristic vibe, It doesn't stop no matter what. They're constantly running away. The fact that he has the balls to try and hit it with a pipe or hit it with this a smoke bomb or whatever, like is just pretty crazy out there. But the fact that it's running, it so comes back to like 80s like horror films, man.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. Absolutely. Like, and it reminds me of, this is just always when I think of something just like unstoppable that eventually you're just going to have to just completely kill it is, and this is so weird, but I was thinking of Mark Wahlberg in a movie called Fear. It came out in like the early 90s with Reese Witherspoon. It's fucking really good. It's actually probably Mark Wahlberg's best movie I've ever seen him in, but he's like obsessed with this. He's just obsessed with this girl and he won't stop. Like ends up like this huge confrontation at the end. And he's literally, even as like there's dead bodies and the cops are on their way, like he's literally trying everything he can just to get up to the girl's room. You're like, holy fuck, man. Like this guy will not stop. Like, I mean, just you can't let off for a second. And I know that's such an obscure and not nearly as good as this movie, like kind of comparison, but it's always what it makes me think of because it was something I watched when I was a kid, and I was like, that's the first time I can remember considering something like that. Like, holy shit, like something that just, you get into a fight with somebody and you both kind of have that moment. You're like, all right, hold on. Are you cool? I'm cool. All right, whatever. No, dude, this thing just does not stop.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting that like the end of Terminator 2 is clearly just borrowing a lot from the end of this Terminator movie. The fact that they end up again in a factory, it's a robot and it has to crawl and stuff. It's very like, that.
They kill it in this one. They kill it with fire. In the second one, they do liquid. They do the liquid nitrogen, and it doesn't work. Yeah. But then they just end up doing basically like super fire, like at the end of it with the molten lava.
Super fire.
Also, in the beginning, near the very beginning of Terminator Salvation, they have a callback to this scene where they're fighting a bunch of Terminators, and like they think they've beat them all, and then one starts crawling up, and this guy has to crawl away from it as well, just like here. Which is I always love seeing like movies like doing callbacks to previous ones. I love that stuff. But it's so fucking scary, man. Seeing it just crawl after her. It does not stop. And yeah, man. And she's also like very limited in her movement.
That leg. Yeah, that leg catches some shrapnel, dude. Ugh.
Yeah. This is like scary as fuck. But thankfully she gets to that point where it's like a cage and she can like close it and separate between the two of them.
Right, yeah. And even then, the arm, dude, just sticking out the whole time. Like, dude, just so close. Get here, bitch. You fucking goddamn. Like, if you could pop into the Terminator's head, like, goddamn fucking son of a bitch.
Actually, speaking of that, like, that's what I always loved about, like, the character Chucky from the Child's Play horror films. Because, like, he would always be like, when he's killing someone, like, usually it's like a silent killer, they don't say anything. But Chucky's like, you stupid fucking slut, die, you fucking cunt. Fuck you, fucking die. And he'll be screaming like that, like a psychopath. And it's crazy hearing that coming from a cute little doll.
No, dude, especially in the first movie when his mom pulls him out and the batteries are out and he's just like, the way he turns and frowns, he's like, I'll kill you, you fucking bitch. I'm like, holy shit. Like, we were watching it. Lindsay had never seen it before. We watched it around Halloween because it had Chris Sarandon in it, who's in the first Friday Night movie. Pull back from like 2 hours ago in the episode. It's got Chris Sarandon in it. Yeah, it's all connected. But it's got Chris Sarandon in it. And that part, she was like, what the fuck? Like, when that thing turned and was like biting her in the face, like, I'll kill you, you fucking bitch. I'm like, holy shit, man. Which is, I mean, it's in a weird way, Chucky's kind of, I mean, comparable to Terminator, because Terminator's after Sarah, Chucky's after Andy the whole time, and he literally does not stop till they light him on fire and blow parts of him off and shit. And like, even then, he keeps coming. It's like, holy shit. But back to this movie.
Yeah. This movie in general draws heavily from slasher films. Like, even here, like, you think the monster's dead, but it comes back, you know? Then it's also got like she's the final girl. And then when it comes to killing him, it's always great to have a one-liner. And she has an interesting one. You're terminated, fucker.
Nah.
Of all things you could say, fucker, really? Like, at least add a mother before the fucker, you know?
Or, it's like, dude, it's just, I don't know. I would have, like, if I just want to see once when they pull up on her face and right when she's supposed to deliver the line, she just says something stupid like beef. It's what's for dinner, or like just something dumb.
Well,
don't go chasing waterfalls.
Well, a real underrated film, another Schwarzenegger one, which is way before its time.
Slim to a Slim Jim.
And
oh, that's great. Sorry, what are you saying, man?
Another one. So The Last Action Hero, which has. It's a great script with terrible execution, I would say, and really ahead of its time. That whole film is so meta. It's sort of making fun of the action genre. And like, you know, he does things like, there's like a line where he's like, I'll be back. Ha, you didn't know I was going to say that, did you? He's like, yeah, like we always like wait for you to say it. It's your thing. But there's a line in it where he's like, you know the part of the movie where the guy says something cool before killing you? Well, how about this one? And he speaks gibberish. He's like, Baba Makanaka Nichols, and he just kills a dude. And it's like, what the fuck? It's like he went like schizophrenic for a second and just put a bunch of letters together. They just hammered on his keyboard. It's fucked.
It's funny.
I'm trying to find right here. I can't find it. I did see it in IMDb's trivia earlier, and I'm just trying to find it. But basically, the idea was the end of almost every Terminator film. They have some variation on this line, but they change it every time. It's pretty much some idea of including the phrase like telling a Terminator that it's terminated. In this one, it's you're terminated, fucker. In 2, it's something like
Isn't it Hasta Vista?
There's another one though. You know what? I'll come back to this later at the end. I'll find it. Let's move on.
Well, yeah, either way, we're pretty much right there. Your Terminator fucker drops the hatch on him and boom, finally fucking kills this thing. Only for
the electricity coming back. Yeah.
Right, yeah. You look behind it, it's like Emperor Palpatine, like, this is my second job, blah, blah. But it's so funny. It's so funny and it's so shitty that, like, she goes through all of this, kills this Terminator, thinks she's doing, oh yeah, I'm saving the future, blah, blah. And all of this shit, it comes back in T2. This is what they get the chip from T2 is the fucking arm from T1. It's like, God damn it.
There's actually a deleted scene where I think it's like the owner of the factory, something's walking around and like there's a police guy. He's like, remember, don't touch anything. Okay. And then he picks up this like microchip and there's some scientists like, what's that? He goes, I know it's a microchip. I've never seen anything like it. And then they pocket it and so like walk off. So they actually, like, you can see, like, they had the idea, all those ideas, like, they originated in this film.
Right, yeah. This was the jumping board for a lot of that. And yeah, we see Sarah, obviously, she gets taken to the hospital. They put Kyle in a body bag. Imagine
that body bag was a suit, like a bag for a suit that James Cameron owned.
You look in and it's like, wow, Kyle's dead, but God, he really looks good in that Men's Warehouse suit. You'll like the way you look. I guarantee it.
What a gentleman.
Yeah, right. God, he looks so good. And yeah, we cut to what seems like, I don't know, maybe 5-6 months later, Sarah's getting gas at the gas station. The part that cracks me up about all of this is she's talking to the tape recorder and she's like, should I tell you who your father is? God, I just don't know. You might not send him back if you do. I'm like, well, congratulations, because you just fucking told him who it is. Like, the fact, like, I was considering this guy named Kyle Reese, but like my mom said that you're like, dude, that's so fucking dumb. I was like, that's so silly.
What if she was like, oh, what can I begin to tell you about your father? Carl?
I think his name was Carl Ranch. That was his name.
Ranch.
But yeah.
It's interesting because those tapes are a big part of Terminator 2, but they don't mention the father's name, so maybe she destroys the tape. Who knows?
Right, yeah. That's the only thing I can think of, honestly, is that it's just something that John doesn't really get into his possession. But this is where we see that iconic photo of Sarah being taken that eventually will become Reese's in the future. Because I guess Kyle Reese is just doomed to repeat this for the rest of his life. It's like, I mean, okay, you've set this in motion. Like, you're taking the picture. Kyle Reese will get the picture again. He'll time travel back and blah, blah, blah. Like, I assume this is all happening over again. I don't know. This is time travel shit. I fucking don't have the time or the energy to, like, go into it. But yeah, man, that's pretty much Terminator. And that's, there's that shot I was talking about at the end, creative acknowledgement of Harlan Ellison, which was not really a big push until it came out on VHS and DVD and stuff. But still something interesting that it's very, very, very hard to find a copy of this movie that doesn't have that at the end of it now. So if you've got one, it's actually worth some money for anybody who's out there listening, just FYI. Well, I've actually, I got a couple of listener comments I'll read real quick, and then we can do some closing thoughts. Is that cool with you guys?
Lay it on me, brother.
Word. First one we got is from esteemed friend of the show, Patrick Harrington. Thank you, Patrick, for commenting, as always. He's a great contributor on the After Party and everything. He's got a great podcast of his own called Married People Watch Movies that he does with his lovely wife, Barb. I think they're actually going to cover The Darkest Minds next, which I actually went and saw that in theaters. Okay movie. It's not terrible, but I'm interested to see what they say about it because I have a good feeling like their opinions will be very divisive. But Patrick says, "Oh yeah." That's Patrick. I love this movie so much. Arnold as an unstoppable killing machine. Michael Biehn as the scrappy hero underdog. Linda Hamilton being the random woman who ends up being the inspiration for the rebellion and gives birth to its leader. So much good shit about this. I still love the cheesy 80s animation of the pure robot Terminator. Plus, who doesn't think of Skynet when you see all those damn robot videos on Facebook? It's like these it's like these assholes haven't seen this movie. Sorry. Also Linda Hamilton boobs. That's literally how it is. BEWBS boobs.
Boobs.
And yeah, we've also got another one from Joe Fats Pulcini, who doesn't actually live that far away from me either. Another Tennessee native, which is really cool. But he's like watching this with a critical eye. I'm impressed by how good Biehn is. He has to be tough, competent, zealous, jaded, and weirdly innocent at the same time, and he pulls it off with limited screen time. once a good actor can transmit a lot of emotions in limited screen time, just like a programmer can transmit information with tight coding. Both leads really pull this off. So thank you, Joe. Thank you for commenting in. That's awesome. I always like hearing from those guys. They're really cool. Matt, why don't you give us your closing thoughts on Terminator?
I'm actually really bummed I can't find this piece of trivia about the quotes, but we'll let that go. Yeah, man, it's easy to see why this is such a classic. It's also pretty inspirational too, man, because it's clearly done on a low budget, but they were able to ride around all the expensive stuff. It's mostly just three people. Like, a lot of the scenes are like in motel rooms or apartment rooms or on the street. Obviously, expensive stuff with the future stuff and the car chases and some of the VFX. But you said $6 million. Like, excuse me, $6 million.
Yeah,
that's
something
crazy.
like that. Yeah.
Like, there's a film that came out this year. One of my favorites is called Upgrade, which was shot for just under $5 million. Clearly took a lot of inspiration from RoboCop and Terminator. And I can really see it, man. So great. I loved how they were able to set so much up that was able to pay off even later. It paved the way, but even without the sequels, this is still fucking amazing film. It's really great. It's great character work. It's really good at establishing like the suspense and actual fear of it all and still being exciting. And it would have been so easy to make this film not fun. It'd be really easy to have made this film really dark and gritty and almost like a downer, but like the way they were able to keep the adrenaline pumping through it was really great. Still some of James Cameron's best work, and he has an insanely great resume. It's a shame that his next 200 films are all going to be around Avatar, because I'd love him to do more of this. Although he is connected to this new one coming out, I think. Great film, great cast. Wish we could see from Michael. And also the soundtrack is fucking phenomenal. I also forgot to mention earlier, during the sex scene, they take the theme, but they use like a piano for it. Like, I love seeing that sort of like mix on that sort of stuff, man. It's really great. But anyways, flawless movie. Love it.
What do you think, Danny?
I like it. I'm glad that you ended up picking it and kind of forced me to go back and appreciate it. My main James Cameron. Don't get too confident over there. The last main interaction with anything James Cameron related was like Avatar. You just said that a second ago. I'm like, my wife and I love the hell out of that movie.
Never seen it.
When we're really?
Yeah.
Have you actually never seen it?
No, seriously, never seen it.
Wow. It's worth it. Definitely. So yeah, I ended up really liking everything about it. I'm glad you kind of forced us to go back and make me appreciate it and remember a lot of it that I hadn't remembered from the first time that I had kind of looked up and watched it. So, Matt said it earlier, was asking how to define like the last half of the film in terms of like feel and everything. And I don't know really how to identify it even still. So I think that gives it's definitely its own unique touch. And it feels kind of timeless to watch, even though there's some of the things that are horrifically dated. There's a lot of the actual like cinematography feels like it could have been something that was shot kind of, yesterday. Some of the shots inside, it was nice to watch. So, overall enjoyed it. Good pick.
Nice. I do have one more comment before I get to my thoughts I left out. Another good friend of ours, Jesse Privet, who's back with his fucking podcast, Countdown to Geek Town. Jesse was potentially going to be on this episode if we were going to record it tomorrow, but just scheduling conflicts, all of us living in different places and stuff. We weren't able to do it, but we would love to have him on soon.
I had to get Danny on anyway because he can't be on. And then you opened up the cellar and you're like, get up here. I was like, the light, it's so bright.
Jesse says, it's strange. I had the same experience with this movie as I did Alien. I watched the sequels before the originals, and they both follow similar styles too. First movie is more horror, and the second movies are action packed, which is, that's totally nail on the head, dude. That's right.
Which I want to say, that's why they need to make a movie called Terminators. Right, we did that with Predator and Predators. I want the next one called Terminators, and it's like they send like 3 Terminators back in time or some shit. And then like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to pitch a movie to you right now, but I just like the idea of having a sequel called it's just like the first one, The Something, and the next one is like a plural of something. I think it's such a cool thing that happened with those films, and I like seeing it happen more.
Those three, the first people they've run into and steal the clothes from, instead of like a punk grunge band, is like some MC Hammer impersonators.
Yes.
So they walk around in parachute pants the whole movie.
They're like, why the fuck did we come back to 90?
Like he learns, like the first walking he ever interprets is seeing them do the shuffle, like the MC Hammer shuffle. So that's how he runs the whole movie.
Apparently a common phrase is too legit to quit. I've learned from them lately. But either way, yeah, I like this movie a lot. I don't even know really.
We didn't ask you, Colin.
Yeah,
Jeez,
nobody fucking
Matt,
asked you.
Tell us more about your movie.
I honestly, I don't even really know why I picked this. I don't even really own it. I haven't seen it in a long time. I mean, I love T2. I've watched that just like last week. It's a brilliant movie. But honestly, I think it was, it's fun. We've done a couple of comedies in the last week. I wanted to switch it up. I wanted to do something that was unique. I wanted something a little bit darker, but I also wanted something that was kind of sci-fi, kind of horror, kind of detective noir-y, like at first, because we don't really know what the hell's going on. We're still trying to wrap our head around it. And I'm glad that I picked it, because now I have a little bit more of an appreciation for it. But I will say it's just a hair overrated from what I remember it. Honestly, like
agreed.
I think this honestly gets put on a shelf out of like 10 out of 10. It's like an 8 out of 10, 8.5. It's really, really, really good, and I really do like it. But at the same time, this movie, I think, kind of gets lumped in with T2, and I'm like, no. like that's not the case. And I think anybody who's a fan of these movies, or even a casual watcher, would definitely say that T2 is better than T1. The majority. I'm not going to speak for everybody, because I'm sure there's somebody who does like T1 more than T2, and fuck them. No, I'm just kidding.
I begrudgingly agree with you, Colin. I begrudgingly agree with you. Yeah,
as do I. 8 out of 10. It's great and solid, but isn't the first thing I think of when I want to watch a movie like this.
Right. And it's great. It's groundbreaking. It was, really except for Conan, that got Schwarzenegger through the door and ultimately killed the careers of Linda Hamilton and Michael Biehn. No, I'm just kidding. It's like the Star Wars curse. And yeah, this was awesome. This really opened up a lot of doors for James Cameron as well. And yeah, I really enjoyed this. It's fun to watch. I'm probably not going to watch it for a while, though. It was all right. I'll own it at some point. I'll probably try and buy a whole Terminator box set at some point. But I'm super excited for whenever we cover T2. And that's really going to be a blast. Not that this wasn't, but that, oh my God, I will be like lips to the balls sucking that fucking dick so hard of that movie.
Holy crap!
Yeah. Oh my God, Danny. But yeah, I'm super excited for when we can cover that. I think that'll really be a blast, and I had a lot of fun talking about it. This was a unique episode. No Zoheb, just us at home. It's kind of like Mom just left, and we're all just like, fuck it. We're all just gonna eat mac and cheese, sit around in our underwear, and not fucking clean anything. Yes. And this has been a blast, man. This has been a lot of fun. Do you guys got anything else to say before we close this bitch out?
No.
Awesome. I assume that Danny speaks for you as well, Matt, so fuck you. No.
Okay. Yeah.
No.
I guess the only thing left to say is this podcast is terminated.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I hate myself for saying that too. Yeah.
Yeah, you should. No, but yeah, we've plugged our socials before at the mid-roll. You guys know where to find us. Rate and review us on iTunes. If you guys ever want to talk to us, you got any suggestions, just shoot us an email at midnightdoublefeature@gmail.com, and we will talk to you guys later. Goodbye.